All right, I'm going to hit the go live button.
All right, I am recording.
We are live. Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon,
And I'm Nathan.
and we have a very special episode. We have the 1979 movie Alien. Nathan, what's your history with Alien?
I've seen this movie a few times. Yeah, this is seriously like one of my top 10 favorites. Interestingly, I didn't really start getting into this movie till I was in my 20s.
Huh.
I saw it a few times when I was younger, but I never appreciated it because it's like the action and adventure is in the James Cameron Aliens. Like
Yeah.
that's what young men would be drawn to. As I got older, it's like, well, that's fine for what it is, but it's like I started revisiting the original and really looking into it, and it's like, oh, this is brilliant filmmaking. It's like this is an amazing movie that also, like in the modern vernacular, like wouldn't be made. They would not make this movie like this again. So it's an interesting time capsule of a movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is one of those movies that builds a wall between Gen X and millennials
Okay.
because there's people like it's like we grew up with Aliens, it's a cool action movie, and Terminator 2, it's a cool action movie. And then Gen X is like, no, Terminator and Alien are far better, superior movies. I mean, they're all great movies, but it's like there's just something that millennials gravitated towards, like Terminator 2 and Aliens, because I guess they're both Cameron and they're just fun action movies. So,
Yeah.
and Terminator and Alien are more introspective, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. They're movies from an earlier time and place, I guess, and is how you say it. An Alien is just like it kind of revived science fiction, and it also created what I consider the most plausible science fiction future that could exist. Like if there's going to be a future, it's probably going to be something like Alien, where it's like, oh yeah, we'll be in space and have technology, but we'll still be driven by greed, selfishness, and malice. And it's like, yeah, it creates a very believable world.
But there's
Uh,
also a lot of viewpoints that I never got from this movie that I know
yeah,
exist, but like so like I was a huge fan of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and in that movie they spoil Alien. They're like, remember when that thing pops out of the guy's chest? So
yeah,
like I was aware of Alien having never seen it.
right,
and I don't even think I saw it till like I don't know, till I was like 20 because I just I didn't have it. I always remember the box art because my friend they had it like on their shelf, and it's just the alien with the egg, and then just aliens too. And actually, I think the very first thing I saw of the Alien franchise was an advertisement for Alien 3. Like that's actually my first memory of Alien franchise. Which I in my head it was like a Super Bowl commercial where like Ripley shaves her head and they make a big deal of it. And I tried to look it up, and apparently that just only exists in my mind.
huh. Well, that's before they started the super collider at CERN. Probably in the universe where Mandela died in prison, but it did happen.
um, although all my burnt in memories from what was it, the First Order? Yeah, I think it was the First Order. The one with oh god, what's the guy's name? The Filipino guy that looks Hispanic.
Oh, I mean the first Power.
Yeah, the First Power.
Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yes, yes. All everything I remember about that trailer did exist in the movie.
Yeah,
So.
it actually happened. It's the coolest trailer for a B movie ever. Remember that guy jumps off the roof and just lands? It's like, oh, okay.
Remember he turns a ceiling fan into like a deadly weapon and
Yeah.
chases somebody around.
Yeah, for some reason, a ceiling fan becomes like the blades of a Mustang fighter somehow. The most robust ceiling fan ever.
um, so yeah, I think eventually I came around to seeing Aliens first because that's just a a more fun action movie. Um, and then got to Alien later, which I probably didn't appreciate because like there's less action.
Yeah.
And also like the same reaction to Alien 3 where it's like, I was no reaction. Although that has a great ending to it, which kind of like saves that movie
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Um, I don't know. It seems like everyone's come around on Alien 3. Mostly it's probably because it's Fincher and nobody wants to think Fincher did anything bad. Or they're like, I got wrestled out of his hands. It's his first studio movie. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I like all three movies for different reasons. They all capture an element of the Alien universe that is cool. And even Alien Resurrection is, I just like that for its weirdness. I almost don't see that as connected to the other three
No,
movies.
it's, yeah.
It's just so wild, but I appreciate, well, anything the French do, I kind of like. But yeah, after the first three movies, the quality drops off dramatically. I mean, it's like that roller coaster where it's almost like inverse. It's dropping off so quickly.
Well, I mean, it kind of stay out. I mean, production wise, it's always high. I mean, except when you get to AVP, because those were clearly B movies and like really had nothing to do with the Alien universe. But
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about. I had a lot of high hopes for Prometheus.
yeah, but it's still like an A+ production of a movie.
Oh yeah,
It's
they look great. Yeah, Prometheus and Covenant look great. Covenant actually kind of redeemed itself a little bit, but yeah, there's just no original. Like, yeah, once you watch the first movie, it's like, well, this is the only one like this.
also I feel like I don't know. There's been like a lot of like I guess revisiting of Prometheus, and now it's like on the tilt. They're like, no, it's amazing, and like they kind of like are like like getting rid of like the concerns that people have for it, where it seemed like, hey, why does everybody get dumb at the end? It's like, no, they're greedy. You don't understand. It's like, no, I do understand. This is stupid.
Yeah, it's all based on what my subjective experience of the movie was, and mine was like, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't like a waste of money to go, but it wasn't what I was expecting. Therefore, I wasn't like super happy with it. Now, after seeing Prometheus, then when I saw Covenant, I was like, well, this is okay. You know, so I don't know if like one served as like a protective layer for the next one.
Well, also, I feel like now, actually, I think like things might move back to negative on Prometheus because it seems like the Lost guys that wrote that script, it seems like they've kind of fallen off pretty heavily. It's like, oh, I guess these guys weren't geniuses. They were just kind of wrote incomplete scripts and everybody filled in the gaps with amazing ideas.
Yeah, it definitely there was a seesaw effect there.
um, but yeah, Alien came out June 22nd, 1979, a summer movie.
Yep.
And I feel like this absolutely, I know there's like different decades and stuff like that, but like this does not feel like a 70s movie at all.
No.
This feels like a blueprint for every 80s movie almost. At least
Exactly.
every 80s movies that's like dark,
Yep.
which is most 80s movies because the way you upped your budget is make everything dark so you don't have to have a lot of detail and
Yep.
then do smoke and lasers, and I think this is like one of the first movies to do like smoke and lasers. I mean, it's really only for one scene, but still.
Yeah, this movie had some amazing production values. It is very steeped in the 70s, though, if you look at the sexual subtexts in this movie, which, like, this is like not. I mean, Ridley Scott, when he does this stuff, when we could call this movie or this podcast the Ridley Scott effect and not change our thesis any at all, because it's kind of the same thing, where it's like, yeah, how deep can we say this is? But between him, H.R. Giger, and I mean, this is stuff they've actually said. Like, I've watched making of production movies. All the sexual subtext in this is very deeply in the 70s, like in and of the era of the 70s.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really detract from the movie because just as viewing it and watching it, it's like, what do you get out of it?
Yeah.
Because I have kind of my own idea about like, well, this is a movie about feminism. Is like, no, it isn't. It's just about it. It isn't for a very important reason. We'll talk about it later, but it's like, no, it actually, that whole argument is defeated by some of the stuff that goes on in the movie. It's like, no, it's just about survival, and the characters are so well written. You don't care that Ripley's a woman. You just like, get the hell out of there, please. So,
well, that's another viewpoint that I never got to have because I heard people talk about this thing where it's like, because I always know Ripley is like, oh, she's the hero of Aliens,
yeah,
or the Alien franchise. Whereas like people talk about like, no, when this movie got originally released, everyone's like, well, Tom Skerritt's got to be the guy that's the hero,
Right.
and then it's unexpected that like that Ripley is the hero, which I never got to experience that whatsoever. It's just I just always known like, oh yeah, because like I don't know like what these I actually don't even know like because these all these actors have kind of gone on to do like they're kind of all character actors.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
isn't really like an all-star cast, but it is like a very notable cast.
It's a high quality cast
Yeah.
of notable actors who are never like leads, except Sigourney Weaver. She kind of did some leading stuff later, but she also was sort of typecast by this movie as, but she's also a woman who's over 6 foot tall too, so that sort of limits like, oh, can she be like a romantic lead? It's like, well, maybe if you put her next to an NBA player or something. It's like it did sort of limit that, but yeah,
Also, I didn't realize this like one of her first movies. She had some bit part in a Woody Allen movie where she's just in there. She's in high heels to make her look even taller.
yeah, oh yeah,
And she's like somebody's date. And I don't even think she has a line, but you just see her in the distance. Yeah, I didn't know she was like 30 when she did this movie, and this is her first movie.
yep. She was told not to. She was told to quit acting at I think Harvard or
Yeah.
where she was. Yeah, it's like you're too tall and weird looking. Quit act. Don't act. It's like then they fired the guy who said that because he kept telling everyone not to act, and they're like, "Yeah, get out of here."
But she's also so baby face in this movie. I would expect her to be like younger, but
No, no, she's like, well, Tom Skerritt's 90. Veronica Cartwright's 74. Oh yeah, Veronica Cartwright, Sigourney Weaver, same age. So yeah, they're both 74 now, and I think all the rest of the cast is dead. So
yeah, of course, directed by Ridley Scott. This is his first like he was a yeah, this is his first movie, but he did a lot of like commercial work.
yeah,
Like he famously directed the 1984 Apple ad.
yep,
So he did a lot of stuff like that. So he's known for stuff. He's also like those commercial guys. They're just like really great at making high quality stuff quickly. And also you're using a British, yeah, this was made in Britain, right? They used all the
yeah,
British work there, so yeah, they get it. This also seemed to like I don't know like when vacuum forming really took off, but it seemed like they really benefited from that here. We're just like we just need stuff that looks like stuff like vacuum form it out, put it on a wall and paint it. I mean, I was all Star Wars too, but here it's like Star Wars, but a little bit dirtier and a little bit more detailed.
yeah,
Even though Star Wars is pretty dirty, but when you're on the Empire, everything's clean.
yeah. It's the dirty space universe, but it's in Aliens, it's just darker, and it's also way more. We got to remember this movie was helped a lot by H.R. Giger. Is
Yeah,
like everything's organic and sexual. It's like, oh, okay. Because if you notice in all the Alien movies after that, doesn't happen. It's only this one that they like the insides of ships and everything, or all. Even the Nostromo looks kind of like weird growths and very organic.
well, yeah, I mean, there's even stuff where it's like,
way.
here's a Giger painting, and we just put it in the movie. Like we don't explain anything. It's just here it is.
Yeah,
Whereas other times they'd have to like everything has to be explained. So because like with the space jockey, it's like, well, what's that? It's like, oh, we don't know. And then Prometheus tries to explain it, and then it just becomes stupid. But that was just a painting like that Giger had. And like, yeah, let's put that in the movie. That'll be cool. Like, and nobody will know what to think then.
yeah. Oh yeah, it just looks weird in space age. Let's paint it white so yeah, it doesn't look like quite like intestines. But, yeah.
I thought there was going to be a bunch of movies in '70s because there must have been some kind of change in film stock around this time. Because I feel like a lot of movies around this era, like when you do a digital transfer of it, like they look amazing. They don't look like they came from the '70s. It's like this and Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Because the first time I saw Apocalypse Now was I think when 1999, like on cable, and it was like, holy shit, this looks like a modern movie. Like this is from the '70s.
Yep.
And like it was just something with the digital remastering that like they did like a fantastic job with. So, but you can definitely find movies from '79. It was like, oh yeah, this is an old movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this movie aged incredibly well.
That's
I
also
mean,
weird. Look at the
they're still
end.
making video games and stuff of
Oh
right
yeah.
in this, so it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, it's also interesting to look at the bookends of the decade here, because like we start with Airport and we end with Alien.
There's a big evolution that
Yeah.
went on in the 70s.
um. Yeah. What other Ridley Scott movies have we done for this podcast? I mean, you can just look up all his. Oh yeah, we did Black Hawk Down. That's right, but
Yeah.
we'll come across a lot of his movies. So.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite directors. I always know when I'm watching a Ridley Scott movie.
And always has contentious, like, quote unquote pseudo director cuts and all that stuff.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like the most famous for that. Like, no, I'm gonna redraft this movie, and then like, maybe you shouldn't.
White Squall was the other movie we did of his.
Oh, that's right. Our most disappointing Ridley Scott movie.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it was just you remember it as being grander than it really was.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but there's a lot of stuff of his I haven't, watched in a while. Then he'll do something like The Martian. Like, it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I haven't seen the. It was. He did one with Ben Affleck recently where there's sword fighting. I heard that one's good.
That one's good. Yeah.
I never saw House of Gucci. I hear good things and terrible things, so it's probably fine.
I like Napoleon.
Okay, I hear some people are contentious about that. Find it ridiculous, but I'm not sure.
I mean,
what the
there's no
version-
reason to be in. I mean, well, the thing is, there's people that want to. Here, it's the thing. It's kind of like the stuff with Oliver Stone. It's like, yeah, he makes movies. It's like, well, historical purists don't like that. It's like, well, yeah, he's not doing an 18-part documentary on PBS. He's making a 3-hour movie, which, for most people's attention span, some people find that challenging to do for 3 hours. Like, I don't know if it's well made, it's not, but that's so yeah, there's if you want to talk about like boring Ridley Scott, just go watch like 1492 Conquest of Paradise or something.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
all big
Basically,
concept stuff, but it's like, wow, this is
a lot of his late '90s or late '80s, early '90s stuff is not great.
Yeah, what's what you call self-indulgent. A lot of it. Yeah, I'm gonna make this good because I am. It's like, well,
I mean, I bet Thelma Lee's like really like struck a chord and just doesn't feel like a Ridley Scott movie. But maybe that's something we need to revisit, because you don't remember it for the Ridley Scott things. You remember it for like, oh, these ladies kill a guy and go on a fun spree running away from the cops and then jump into the Grand Canyon at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you remember the things about it. No, but if you look at how Thelma and Louise is shot, you're like, yeah, this is a Ridley Scott.
Yeah, but I haven't done I haven't reanalyzed it. Like, I haven't seen that movie probably in like 15 years, so I really haven't done the Verhoeven Effect. Look at that again. Cinematographer is Derek Van Lint.
Yep.
And I don't know what's up with him, but he did not do a lot of movies. Like, this is his first movie, essentially, like that's not a short. I remember the interesting things about how they shot this movie is that this is one of the first movies, or maybe one of the well-known movies that shot with fluorescent lights, which I know it's something that Fincher also likes to do because it gives it kind of a cool, like not cool and like cool, but like, kind of a dimmer color, and a flatter color, and then literally cool in that you're not frying your actors with bright fluorescent lights, or not fluorescent, halogen lights or whatever they use.
These like metal halide lights and stuff. Yeah.
Which is also actually worked to their benefit too, as it didn't melt all the stuff on set that was glued to the walls.
That makes it not. Derek Valiant was mainly worked in advertising.
Okay.
And he was also, the way I understand it, it wasn't like DP in name only because he did a lot of works, but he was actually more of a special effects, he could shoot models very well.
Okay.
And he had a certain talent for that, but I think the overarching vision was all Ridley Scott's in this.
Okay.
And this guy was kind of like a guy like, I'm good at model work. I also know which side of the camera's what. I can take your lead. But it's like, yeah, if you want to do like incredible model work and practical effects, this is the guy. He's going to be the best DP for that. Maybe not for the overall vision, because he just kind of went right back into doing commercial work
Yeah,
after, because he did like Dragon
that's
Slayer.
the only other notable movie on his list. It's Alien and Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, but his mainly like he just made bank and that's how it was described in the things I
Okay.
read. It's like the DP of this film was
I
kind of a combination of him and Ridley Scott.
well, I don't know. It's like there's other like because like Ridley Scott is very comparable to uh, Michael Bay, except Ridley Scott's talented.
Mm.
Well, Ridley Scott has a better idea for story. Michael
Yeah,
Bay is an amazing cinematographer, director guy.
yeah. Michael Bay would be like the best special effects DP on a film, like made by or either Ridley Scott or James Cameron. But I think the egos would collide and create like some
Yeah.
kind of black hole that would destroy the universe. So that you'd never see that. But yeah,
But they had some very similar things where like they had incredibly successful commercial careers because like Ridley Scott was basically a millionaire before he did this movie, so he's not really in the pocket of Fox when he does this movie. Like he has a place to go if this
yeah, he has
doesn't
a
work.
company called like Ridley and Associates just doing commercials. Because yeah, that's why it's like, oh, he was a daring filmmaker. It's like, well, yeah, he didn't have. I mean, all he would lose was money
Yeah.
and a chance to continue to make movies the way he wanted to. Which, if you didn't give him that chance, he would go back to commercial stuff and do fine. He's got a ton of money.
So I remember the thing when because Michael Bay, I think his big thing was he like created the Got Milk commercials.
Okay.
And a bunch of other ones too, but I think that was like the big one. And like he was already a millionaire, and he does Bad Boys, and like even though like they got Will Smith, like he was still like a TV guy at that time, and like he's driving around a Porsche, and like the production can't afford the Porsche in that movie, so the Porsche he's driving is just Michael Bay's Porsche.
That's cool. Putting your money where your mouth is. Like, yeah, take my Porsche.
Written by Dan O'Bannon. Based on a short story by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, who he went on to do the Total Recall screenplay, so he has some good credits there. A lot of his other credits are just like based on character by all the Alien adaptations.
Yeah. I also worked with Carpenter on Dark Star.
Okay, yeah.
Which was essentially a student film. And he was going to be the special effects supervisor on Hodarsky's Dune. We learned that. Which, like, I still want to see that movie made.
And then, what else did O'Bannon do?
Life Force.
Oh yes, I've heard of that movie. That's one of those.
It's a good bad movie.
It's one of those canon movies where they put a lot of money in a weirdly kind of like R-rated movie.
Yeah, sex space vampires.
Oh yeah, I did Return of the Living Dead. This is Dan O'Bannon I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of
He
aliens.
adapted.
Oh, he did Blue Thunder. That's right. We did.
Oh yeah, that's right. Blue Thunder.
Oh, Heavy Metal. He did a segment for that. So.
Yep.
He's also a Dark Star guy. So yeah, these are all the dark. And then also I guess like I thought Walter Hill was like a writer on this, but he was just a producer on this movie because we like a lot of Walter Hill movies, even though they aren't necessarily great, but there's always something about them.
Yeah.
Which weirdly enough, he also
takes chances. Sometimes they work.
Well, weirdly enough, this year he put out The Warriors. Like he directed that. He was also a producer on this. So imagine that setup. Like, oh well, I put out The Warriors and I also produced Alien. It's like, oh, so you're amazing, huh?
This is one to watch.
Because we also did Extreme Prejudice. Okay. I
Yep.
keep wanting to say Extreme Measures, which, if I recall correctly, that is a stupid movie where Michael Keaton is like a serial killer, and then they try to make him a hero at the end.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like the movie twist nobody cared about.
Of course, the cast is Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, and John Hurt, and everybody. Well, we'll get to everybody in this movie because it's a very distinct small
Yeah,
cast and
very
everybody's
well
great.
written, believable
Yeah.
characters.
Um, so we've Act 1. We open on a star field and we're panning onto a planet, or I guess tracking. Panning's like if you moved your head. It's like, what's that over there? And you just do that. Tracking is like if you, what's that over there? And then you walked around it to look at it.
Try to see all sides of it.
Yeah, but you're like walking around it, where panning would just be holding the camera in place and just moving it. Oh yeah, do you want to show off your coat? I guess to the YouTube watchers.
Oh yeah, this is the replica of the Nostromo jacket of Tom Skerritt's. It's not a very accurate or good one, but it's the one I did because I'm not a body double for Tom Skerritt then or now. So I had to like kind of find a jacket that sort of looked like it, because all the props in this movie are based off UK military surplus,
Yeah.
and so these are like they're not part of these jackets originally. These are like compression laces for G suits if you're flying in fighter craft. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a compression suit, but it's all made of stuff like this. Well, they just cut them off that and put them on jackets. So when it came time for Nathan to try to do this in the 2000s, well, you know, I don't have access to UK military surplus from the 60s, so I had to try to fabricate all this stuff. And of course, the patches you can get on the internet from anywhere. And but yeah, this is the and yes, this is light pink. It's like white, but you put it in red dye and then run it through bleach real fast, because everything on my coat had to be artificially weathered and aged to look as close as possible. And it's got the lettering on the back, but it's straight because I didn't have a machine that could make the template curved exactly. Because as it curved it, it made it wider, and then it wouldn't fit on the back of the jacket. And I'm not an engineer, and I don't know how to do that stuff. So, yes, I made this years and years and years ago, and it was a lot of fun to do it. And I used to wear it around, but it led to conversations. Like people just wanted to come up and talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. It's like, is that from the movie? I was like, no, I made it. It's like, oh, it looks exactly like it. And I'd be like, well, no, actually, it doesn't look anything. It sort of does, but this is where it's wrong.
Nathan not taking a compliment in the wild because he's suspicious.
Well, yeah, I don't really want to have conversations. It's like, I mean, if I saw someone wearing that, I'd be like, cool, and I'd keep going. It's like, I don't have conversations, especially ones that are like beyond like, cool jacket, thanks. It's like, so what did you think about the scene where it's like, I'm buying cookies right now. What are we doing? So, yeah, so I don't wear it out in public anymore, but it's fun. It was fun to make it. It's a very particular piece of it's something like approachable. It's not like I'm gonna be my own Star Wars character or something. It's like, yeah, lots of people do that. It's like, who wants to be from the crew of a doomed spacecraft where almost everyone dies? It's like, oh, okay.
Well, it's also, I mean, the way that the coat's supposed to work is like, they're just truckers in space. So, got some compression sleeves and then, just some stuff, some logos you throw on your jacket. So.
Yeah, and it was literally just thrown together. Like, I don't, it's become like more iconic like everyone knows what this is. So it's become more iconic, or at least as iconic as time goes by. But yeah, a lot of the costuming in this movie was really unique. Because it looked, this is supposed to be like in the year, I don't know, 21, 22 or something. So it's like everything's in the future, but not so far in the future we wouldn't recognize or understand any of it. And it's also a corporate spacecraft, so it's not done at the behest of a government like NASA or something where everything's clean and white. It's like, no, it's a dirty thing, and here's your crappy uniforms that the last crew wore, and and I hope you stay warm in them because you're in the middle of space.
Yeah, and also I don't think I realized till like maybe like a third viewing of this years ago, of like these sort of Russian nesting doll of ships in this movie, where you see this big ship and like, what the hell's that's the ship? It's like, no, that's like the hauler, and then the Stromo's just kind of on the front of it,
Yeah.
And then you have the like escape ship where that's a different ship.
And all these names come from different Joseph Conrad books.
Oh, okay.
Nostromo is the name of a character in the book Nostromo. The Sulaco is the ship that the guy goes up the river in Heart of Darkness. Now that's in Aliens. That's Sulaco, and it's a Conestoga class ship, which is like that's a wagon and also the fictional name of the country, I believe, in one of the books that Joseph Conrad wrote. And then the escape pod is called Narcissus, which is also a Joseph Conrad book, but that's not the whole title of the book. But I can't say it out loud anymore because you're not supposed to use that word. So, but the name Narcissus had a character name in front of it. So, but you'll have to look that up on your own. It's Joseph
Well,
Conrad.
I'm aware of a movie called The Black Narcissus. Is there something related to that?
Yes, it is that, but it's instead imagine
Okay.
another word instead of calling it black. That's actually
Yeah,
the title of the book.
yeah. Use your Spanish.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah, we open on a starfield. This is a good 70s starfield because it's kind of has depth to it. It's not just dots in the sky. There's like the you got like the dust of the rings of the planet or whatever on there.
Yeah.
We got creepy music by Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah, this is the weirdest soundtrack you don't hear but recognize as soon as you hear it later. Because the soundtrack in this is very subtle.
Yeah. We also get the alien title comes in one hash mark at a time, which I remember the trivia behind that being that like that's like marking off their deaths or something like that. I don't know if that's true, but maybe I don't.
Sounds cool.
That's one of those things like I guess if you want, like, you know, like if everyone's hitting on all cylinders, it's like, what are we gonna do for the opening? Like, I have this idea, or they just did it by accident and found it backwards, and it's like that. Now this is what this means, you know.
Yeah, it's either the Pink Floyd and Wizard of Oz effect or they're subtle geniuses. It's like
Yeah.
you can claim either way. You can't disprove or disprove.
No, the other end's the Verhoeven effect.
Yeah, well, that's
if
true.
they didn't intend it, that's the Verhoeven effect.
Yeah.
If they, well, I mean, I guess that's the Verhoeven effect quandary. Like, did they intend it or not? It's like, well, that's
Yeah,
up
they
to
can
you.
claim that.
Yeah. Well, we fade to a spaceship with 4 pillars. Which does this have a name? The Hauler or whatever?
Well, the hauler is the Nostromo.
Is
That's
it?
the thing on the front. Yeah, that's a Lockmark M24 Bison hauler.
Okay.
Which would be a Lockheed Martin, but they say the company's merged or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's a the thing that breaks off and goes down to the planet. That's the actual Nostromo.
Okay. Yeah.
Someone said because that's an oil refinery they're pulling.
Yeah.
Because there's a story behind the story in this that's never told in the movie. It's not necessary to know this stuff, but
Yeah.
the reason things like the Nostromo exist is because there's no oil left on Earth. So they're just hauling oil from deep space and refining it on the way home. And then they come into Earth orbit and it gets pumped, I don't know, down by it somewhere. But someone said like the actual main ship was called the Prometheus platform, but I can't find any documentation that says that that's true. It's like, oh, okay.
I don't know. There's a lot of things where people, it's like, oh yeah, this is what this is. And then it becomes like common knowledge. And then like people like associated with the like movies will be like, no, we never said that.
Yeah.
Because I remember something like, because like it's always known like, oh, the alien, it's a xenomorph. And everyone calls them xenomorphs. And then like, we never called them that. Like you called them that. So I don't know where that originates or when it started, but.
I think xenomorph starts in Aliens.
Okay.
Because the first time you hear it is when Apon's giving a briefing. And it's like, or no, when their Lieutenant Gorman
Yeah.
is giving a briefing, and Hudson is like, oh, it's a bug hunt. As soon as he says xenomorph, they're like, oh, it's a bug hunt. This is a chicken shit unit or whatever. No, it's something in Aliens, but yeah, that's.
Let's see. Yeah, we get titles that come on screen. It says commercial towing vehicle, the Nostromo, Crew 7, cargo, refinery processing, 200 million tons of mineral ore. Course returning to Earth. Which I think is kind of fascinating in like the whole Alien franchise. I think we've been to Earth for maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
it's a hellhole. Yeah, you never want to go there.
Well, I don't think we've ever seen it be a hellhole because I think we've only seen it with Wayland's like, you know, doing stuff on Earth where he's being Elon Musk or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so we never actually see it. There's always been plans of like going to Earth with aliens and then like revealing what that is, and they just never done it. But maybe we'll get there.
Yeah, there is a whole expanded universe that is not actually the Free League Alien RPG has fleshed out the universe pretty well. Because the question you'd ask, like in the second, and we'll get this in the second movie too, but even now, it's like this movie is so tightly focused. Like you don't know what's going on. You know, I mean, these people are there's Americans, there's a couple British guys, and they're on something called the UN at what is this called? USCSS Nostromo. You don't even know what that means. So it's like, oh, okay. So we're floating through space in an oil refinery / mineral refinery, I guess too. But yeah, it just establishes that like this is a freighting expedition. These aren't military people. This isn't government. This is a commercial towing. Because you find out USCSS, whatever stands for United States Commercial Shipping Syndicate or something. Okay. Like that. But you don't find that out in the movie. You just find that out later.
Well, there was a couple of great like encyclopedias they made for the Alien universe that like explains like every little tool and thing like that. But then somebody will be like, "That's not canon." It's like, well, I bought it, so fuck you.
Yeah, no, it's canon now.
We get a long shot inside the spaceship. There's just like elaborate corridors and ceilings, which I remember that was another like Ridleyism, is having a ceiling to a set to kind of make it claustrophobic.
Yep.
Which you'll see often in his movie. Well, often in his like sci-fi movies. Some people have taken up that mantle. Some people haven't. I remember it was very present in the Blade Runner 2049, where it's like, okay, Denis Villeneuve followed the formula. So
yeah, it makes sense. That's why it's a good follow-up to that movie. No heavy lifting with him. Only picks the easy movies to remake and develop sequels. I think he hates himself secretly.
He's French Canadian, so you know. And he comes from a very
pleasure together.
And he comes from a very wealthy, rich family.
So he's not taking chances either.
No.
I'll do this. It works. Great. I'm a hero. If not, go work in the slaughterhouse my family owns or whatever.
Because I know there's an F1 racer. I forget his name. It's Villeneuve. There's multiple of them. His dad died in a car wreck or died in a car crash, and then he went on to become a Formula One champion. And then there's a circuit in, where the hell do they race? I think they race in Toronto. I can't remember. And it's Circuit de Villeneuve, and it's like, oh, is that the same family or is that a coincidence? Like, no, it's the same family.
No, same billionaires.
Because like Denis Villeneuve, is like his cousin or nephew or something like that. Or I forget. They're related, so.
Just a bunch. It's a huge, rich family.
Yeah, I don't know how far it goes. I don't know if they're like the Rockefellers of Canada or something like that.
Well, in F1, it's at least $100 million. That's where it starts.
Although, are there any Rockefellers still around? Is that wealth just still holding still, and somebody just has the name and just does whatever?
Well, it divides by however many heirs there are every generation.
Yeah, but I haven't heard of anybody named Rockefeller for, decades. So.
Someone could have had all girls and the name doesn't carry on, but the money still exists.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because as it seems with billionaires, if you have wealth, your wealth makes wealth, and then you don't need to do anything ever again.
Yeah. It's the beauty of it all. But then for some reason, instead of like moving to a cabin on a mountain and just living that simple life with electrified fences all around you for miles. No, they want to like buy social media sites and put, child pornography and Nazi stuff on there and be like, what's everyone's problem? Like, well, it's illegal and it's wrong and it doesn't make anyone comfortable.
We're moving about the ship and there's kind of just stuff moving by itself.
Yes.
I don't know what that's about. I'm guessing I'm guessing why some of that stuff is moving is because the HVAC system is turning on for the people that they're about to wake up.
Yeah.
But there is the cat carrier moving around. Like, is the cat alive and they haven't been fed for years? What's going on here? Or does the cat carrier have a cryo chamber unto itself?
I think the cat was
Or is
in
the
the
cat
chamber.
not even in that thing? Is
No,
it?
I think it was in the chamber with Ripley.
Okay. All right. Oh, is that Ripley's cat? Because I wasn't sure about that.
No, I think it's the crew cat, but it always survives. Like Jonesy makes it to the next movie.
Okay. Because it
So
seems like it seems like Ripley has no concern for Jonesy's well-being until the end of the movie. It was like, wait, whose cat is this?
it's the ship's cat.
Computer screen comes to life and starts spitting out data. It's reflected on a helmet, kind of
Which is
creepily.
cool. Yeah.
Which
Because you don't know, wait, is somebody sitting there? I was like, oh no, that's a helmet.
and it has like, and it's over like an. I don't know if it's like a part of the helmet or they just put it over an emergency button, but it's like set over like there's a button that says emergency push inside the helmet. And I'm like,
No,
what?
you hit that button and you can put your helmet on. It's the emergency release for the helmet.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking. You
Okay.
hardly ever see spacesuits in this movie except for one time. And when you find out about how those suits were made and what it did to the actors, you're like, oh yeah, this is why they. Seems like every movie with cool spacesuits, it's like they're a nightmare for the actors.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, that Event Horizon. It's like they're terrible because they have to make them big enough so you can see the actor's face. Which, like in real life, you just make like 2 small holes and like a protective like thing. But no, you have to build it so it's camera friendly. So it's like, yeah, it always weighs 100 pounds and it's hotter than hell. And it's,
yeah, which they kind of figured out because I think they figured out how to put like small HVAC systems on the thing because you can see the problem in here is that the glass starts to condensate as their breath builds up inside, which now they make those so that won't happen. And they're just, modern, like these spacesuits, they'll do 2 things. They'll either spend the money on the suit so it's very clear, you can clearly see the actor's face, or they'll just put the actors in a motion tracking suit and then build the suit on them with CGI.
yeah.
And basically both ways work. Because if you ever seen the movie Gravity, essentially she never has a spacesuit on that entire movie. Like literally, it's all CGI on top of her for most of it.
Yeah.
And that's still a great movie. So
yeah, I mean, it works. You don't really. It's not what you're really paying attention to.
No.
It's just like what you're paying attention to is Space's concerted effort to kill Sandra Bullock. Like, why does Space want her dead so bad?
A hallway lights up. Oh yeah, this also had I don't know. Do you? I guess were you young enough to see any advertising for this movie like live, or you just see it later?
Oh, you mean the original trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched it on YouTube. It's a very effective trailer.
But yeah, this is the original. This is like a great tagline: where in space, no one can hear you scream.
Yep. Which would actually be true.
Yeah. Unless they're touching you.
Yeah, then you can feel the vibration.
Yep, you can feel the screams or vibrations. Which is funny because when I was looking for that one trailer I imagined in my mind of Alien 3, I found a different Alien 3 teaser, and the tagline they had for that, on Earth, everyone can hear you scream, and they don't even go to Earth.
Alien 3, God bless it, but boy did it have some problems. That's what happens when like one guy directs it and they take it away from him, and then the studio execs try to, it's like, how can we shape this into something cool that it isn't and make people watch it? And it's like, and then everyone's disappointed and pissed off because they felt like they were misled.
Well, I still need to read.
They were, but they weren't misled by David Fincher. They were misled by studio executives.
I know there's like a production of it on Audible of William Gibson's Alien 3, which I heard is amazing and weird.
Yes, the script from that is what Freely used to create the Aliens RPG.
Okay.
All the political stuff and everything that like makes like, why do we have colonial marines? Who do they fight? Why are British and American people on a ship together in Aliens? Like, that script that explains it all. It's like, who's the enemy? And it's like, it's the German, Russian, Chinese space syndicate called the Union of Progressive Peoples, which is like, we're fighting space commies. Okay. That sounds very good. And there's no United States. It's the United Americas, because North and South America are just one giant America now. Okay. And then the British and the Japanese are their own weird. Because remember, like Kane has a patch. It's like the Union Jack, but it's a triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, that actually meant like that's the three world empire. It's the UK, Japan, and Australia are one political entity.
Huh.
But Australia is like the hellhole part of that, and Australians are like basically servants to the, because of course the British and the Japanese just went right back to imperialism. But they're so closely allied with the U.S. that's like this, because Whalen Yutani is a British Japanese company, but it's flagged in America. So it's like, oh well, so there's really only two factions, but you don't know any of this in Alien.
No.
It's just
This is great backstory for a set builder to like, what should this look like? And then you give somebody a history lesson. And they're like, okay, got it.
Yep. But it all started in this movie. Like
Yeah.
all the backstories and stuff in this movie were written but never explained. And they're written by Ridley Scott and some of the writers. It's like, but they were given to the actors as this is your character's backstory. We're never going to mention it really.
Yeah.
This is what motivates you. And then those got leaked out like years later. It's like, oh, this is the Alien universe. Because remember, there was always a speculation that Alien, Outland, and Blade Runner were the same universe.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, but it's like, that's kind of cool. And there's also a lot of bleed over between Terminator and Alien.
Yeah.
So, but it's like they're not related. They just.
But there is direct correlation between Alien and Predator. So.
Yes,
because they're owned by the same company.
Yeah, that's the similarity.
And that's as like then that. And that's how we ended up with superhero movies, because that wrapped our imagination where it's like, oh, they're connected. Holy shit. I want to see the film franchise. And then they never made it. And then somebody had the gall to us like, what if all these movies are connected? And then it was cool for about a decade, and now it's not.
Yeah. Now it's like, oh, God, guys, we got to come up with something original. Oh, by original, you mean we're going to go mine the, it's like, how much more Philip K. Dick stuff can we recycle?
Hallway lights up as the camera approaches a door. I don't know. The trivia on this is the door kind of looks like the Purina logo, and then that's supposed to mean they're Alien Chow. Have no idea if that's intended from the front or somebody just said that after the fact. So
all the semiotics in this movie supposedly mean something, but when you ask like the production people, they're like, no, we just like took semaphore flags and like rounded them off and made them look futuristic. Because you see a lot of those semiotics later in the movie when Ripley's like doing something to the ship's coolant system, and it's like, yeah, those are all meaningless, like, but it just looks like something futuristic. So yeah, it depends on what you want to believe.
The door opens and reveals the crew in sleeping pods, which I assume these are just cryopods, but they don't explain it. So
yeah, there's not like, it seems like a deep sleep. There's no one like coming out of ice. Yeah,
but also we know from the sequel that the sequel that nobody ages in these pods. So
no, yeah.
So usually that means cryo.
Yeah, there's no evidence of freezing here.
They're in their underwear. We get Kane, played by John Hurt, is the first one to wake up. Apt name, because John Hurt always seems like he's in pain and hurting, so great actor for that. And eventually died horribly of cancer, so it just followed through his whole life on that.
Yeah, it worked. He's the oldest looking 30-year-old you'll see.
Oh man, have you heard of what's his name? It's like Brian Littler or whatever. You've heard of this guy?
That name sounds familiar.
He's like a darts like competitor.
Okay.
And there was this clip that showed up on Reddit where it's like 6-year-old champion like makes his way to the top of the whatever, and you see this guy come up who kind of looks like a drunk 30-year-old soccer fan, and he throws like his darts and then walks away, and like then you wait for like the 6-year-old to walk up, and then like a 40-year-old guy, bald guy, walks up and is like, oh wait, that was the 16-year-old.
God. Must be a British thing.
Yeah, heavy drinking, I don't know. But apparently it's like the most watched darts match in years, like it even like outdrew other sports, and now he's in the Premier League of darts. So. I don't know. Put Littler, like Littler, and darts and see if something pops up.
Okay, let me see.
You'll see like a rosy-faced British kid, I guess, who looks like he's in his 30s.
Oh, this guy's 16?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. they do start drinking young over there. What's the drinking age over there? Whenever it
I
feels
don't think there is one.
Okay, so it's whenever it feels right. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if I had that in my life, I would look like I'm 70 right now.
um. So then we cut to it's breakfast time with the crew or whatever. You know, it just kind of looks like breakfast because they have those like containers of what looks like cereal, but I have no idea. Well, somebody's eating cereal. Someone's putting milk in some oats or whatever, so that's what's going on. But that appears at every meal.
Tupperware friendly universe.
Yeah.
Something comes out of a slot, you pour milk on it, it's edible.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the great things about like all the props in this movie is they don't just exist there as like background to be interesting. Like everything's meant to be used if it could be. So
yeah. It's mostly Tupperware from what I understand. Even those cups with the Whalen Yutani logo on them, that was Tupperware from the 70s.
Again, vacuum forming. Well, I guess. Yes. Well, is Tupperware vacuum formed?
It could be. I don't know.
It's plastic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking of what's the glass stuff? Pyrex. Okay.
Pyrex.
That's what I'm thinking of. So yeah, I'm gonna just list the whole crew here. We get Harry Dean Stanton as Brett, a veteran character actor in hundreds of things, basically great in everything he's ever done.
Yeah, basically the same great guy in everything. I do like when Ridley Scott was begging him, I'd talked to him multiple times, and Harry Dean Stanton was, I don't like that sci-fi shit. And Ridley Scott was like, yeah, neither do I. Well, I guess they bonded around that. I don't know. According to Ridley Scott, that happened. I don't know if that was real. I mean, Harry Dean Stanton was doing podcasts like into his 90s talking to people about different things. But he was kind of like, just like, yeah, you can come to my house and record me. I think, didn't Mark Maron do one with Harry Dean Stanton?
I don't know. There has to be.
Because he was like just hanging out at Harry Dean Stanton's house. And Harry Dean Stanton was just like making stuff with leather. It's like, yeah, this is what I do.
I think he died in like 2018. He was one of the many casualties of the last season of Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay. That's right.
We got Yaphet Kotto as Parker, another, I guess, character actor. Oh, he's been in hundreds of things. You probably recognize him from something. I remember him most as like the police captain in Homicide: Life on the Streets. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember him for that, and I remember, what is the other thing about Yaphet Kotto that's interesting? Oh, he's the only black Jewish guy I've ever heard of.
Okay.
It's like, no, it's like a practicing Jew.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wow, okay, I didn't think of that.
But. Great name though.
Oh yeah, that's a cool. You know that name?
I don't know anybody with the last name Kotto. Definitely don't know anybody with the name Yaphet.
Yeah, well, once you find out like he was raised like Jewish, it's like, oh, okay, that name makes sense. It's like, huh.
We get Ian Holm.
Also was let's see, was an interesting guy. He died like quite recently.
Huh.
I think a couple of years ago. He was a I know he was a Trump supporter, a supporter of Black Lives Matter and QAnon.
Oh, okay, complicated man.
Yeah, it's like he seemed to have a lot of parallel beliefs.
Or just did not was not dissuaded by listening to other people's ideas.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm doing my own thing. Could very well be
everything's
true.
Valid.
Well, I remember I first heard about this stuff because one of the commentaries on Alien, I think Sigourney Weaver was talking about like Yaphet Kotto required what do Jewish people eat? It has to be food that's kosher.
Kosher, yeah.
Required kosher meals, and she was like, "What?" And he had to explain to her, like, no, I'm Jewish. I'm raised Jewish. Like, oh, okay. She'd never seen a black guy that was Jewish before. It's like, huh.
And she probably never saw a Jewish guy in Hollywood follow that either.
Yeah, probably. It was like, oh, he's living the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm Jewish.
He's living the word, as they say.
Yeah, I'm Jewish, but hand me that BLT.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for that shit.
I'm a bacon Jew.
He's Parker. We get Ian Holm as Ash.
Yes.
Whose other famous role is he's Bilbo in the the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the 2000s.
I always think of him as the Queen's physician in From Hell.
Okay.
He did a really good job as that. He was the actual Jack the Ripper.
Oh yeah,
And he did a great job, and it was kind of a mediocre movie, but he really stood out.
yeah. Get Veronica Cartwright as Lambert, who she's probably like the least featured in this movie. I guess maybe it might be a part of her career. I heard like her and her sister were like kid actors, and her sister was like in The Sound of Music, so she was more popular. But for Veronica Cartwright, like still working, she's basically a character actor. She's been in hundreds of things. So
Yeah, she was. Wasn't she the mom in Flight of the Navigator?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I knew I remembered her from that, and there's a couple of them. I think she was in Witches of Eastwick.
Yes, yes.
And
Because
then
I
I
guess
don't know what
I
she
guess they've done
started.
updates to that, and so she returns to do those things too.
Oh, okay.
Because there's been more Witches of Eastwick things, and so she was in that television. Yeah, she does a lot of television now, but
Can't remember what else. I think she was. I think she played one of the astronauts' wives in The Right Stuff too.
okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I forget, and I don't remember which one. I'm not gonna look it up, but yeah.
I get Tom Skerritt as Dallas, who I feel like I know Tom Skerritt, but then I try to think of Tom Skerritt movies and nothing comes to mind. Do you have a history of Tom Skerritt movies, Nate?
I don't. He was in MASH.
Okay.
Um, and I'm trying to think of whatever.
Oh,
He
he's
was,
in
he was
Top
the
Gun.
yeah, he was the guy in Top Gun. He was the sheriff in The Dead Zone with
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. He did a lot of.
I feel like he's more of a TV guy than a movie guy.
I think later he did become more of that.
So I'm trying to look up what he did before he was an alien, because I know there's that narrative about like, oh, he's supposed to be the hero, but looks like he was in a lot of TV stuff.
He was in Ice Castles. That was a big romance thing. He was like the third guy in that.
Okay, I don't even know what that is.
It's a ice skating movie.
Okay.
It's yeah, chicks like it. It's a chick movie.
What's Turning Point or The Turning Point?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's about ballet. Okay.
Ice skating and ballet. Was he a dancer or something? I don't remember.
Probably he's from Detroit.
Huh.
He went to Wayne State, so he was not only is he from Detroit, he went to school there. Then he went to UCLA. Okay, so he struck out west. Oh, he was also in the Air Force for a long time too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like 90. I didn't realize he was that old.
How old is Ed Harris?
I don't know. That's a good. He's got to be in his late 70s. I feel like Ed Harris isn't. Yeah, he's 73.
Okay. He actually seems way older than that, I guess. I don't know.
Well, he's always been bald. You
Yeah.
only know Ed Harris as a bald guy.
Yeah.
So that makes him. That adds 20 years.
And then of course we have Sigourney Weaver as Ripley.
Yep.
Who presumably like she's a nobody at this time and nobody knows who she is, so it's a surprise that she
It's like
survives.
her first speaking role in a movie.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, it's a baby face Sigourney Weaver here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was trying to like look up like because I was like surprised that she was like 30 when she did this, and I was looking at Sigourney Weaver through the decades, and so it's like in '89 she's in Ghostbusters 2, and then in '99 she's in Galaxy Quest, so she'd be 50 then, and arguably maybe at her hottest, I guess, you know. But
Yeah.
Again, two guys just evaluating a woman for how sexy she is. But hey, I don't know. I'm just and then let's see here. Then yeah, 2008 she's in Avatar, so then she's in her 60s there, and then last year she's in, or I guess 2 years ago she's in the next Avatar movie, you know, when she's like in her 70s. But you know, Lord knows when they shot that, so she could have shot that when she was still.
Well, she's going to be in Avatar movies until she's into her 80s.
And she also did that, you know, that crazy thing. Well, I guess, you know, I forget his name. Who's the director?
Well, oh, what?
Avatar. You know, Terminator 2.
Oh,
James Cameron.
Cameron.
I bet
Yeah.
Cameron's like the same age as her or something like that. Because, you know, she did that crazy shooting thing in the latest Avatar movie where, like, they all had to, like, hold their breath for, like, 8-minute shots underwater because, like, they couldn't have them with scuba tanks and do scenes, so they just had to do free diving.
God. Cameron's 70.
Oh, okay.
69. I'm sorry. 69.
Nice.
Yes.
um,
Wayne's World, they did that.
um, there's a beep from Mother, which I guess is just the computer,
Yeah.
but it's also supposed to represent the company or something.
Yes.
But it's not a direct communication because they never actually end up in communication with anybody else outside the ship.
No, yeah, there is no faster than light communication here. There's just protocols written into things. If this happens, then do this. If that happens, then do that. Because they're still bound by the light barrier.
Because I think it was only this time that I recognized that, like, oh, they're not like talking to somebody when they go into that computer room. It's just coming from the computer.
Right.
um. So yeah, it's a.
Mother spelled, it's Muthur,
Oh, really? Huh.
and it looks like murder. Yeah. You look at it from a weird.
Full Verhoeven effect.
Oh yeah.
We get an eyes only message for Dallas. Dallas goes in the computer room where it's like bright white room filled with lights. This is the one that kind of looks 70s. Like this kind of looks like a set from like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes. Yes, it very much does.
The crew is manning the cockpit and they're taking a look around and they find out that they aren't anywhere near Earth. And so like, what happened? Why did we get woken up? Because they're expecting to wake up and then like drop their load off at Earth and then like take in their payday and then like I don't know, go blow it on drugs.
Yeah, I got a feeling a few of them are not going to be using it.
Ripley's like starts putting out a broadcast, so she's kind of like the comms officer, but I don't know exactly what her job is.
She is a warrant officer in what would essentially what we would call the merchant marines.
Okay.
Now it would operate that way. So she is like right underneath Dallas in terms of rank, but she also like because they have kind of different jobs that because it's essentially I forget how it works. It's like it's Dallas is the captain. Kane is like this sub commander or commander, and then it would be Ripley she's like a warrant officer, and then Veronica Cartwright is a navigator, and then Kodo and Stanton are like engineers,
Yeah.
and Holmes is like a science officer.
Yeah.
Science officer. But then Kane is also a science officer, so it kind of gets weird.
Well, it's a lot of stuff to do, so yeah, multiple roles.
Yeah.
Like every other corporation, it's like, why have 10 people do this job when you can have 7? But yeah, do you know what a warrant officer is, Nathan?
A warrant officer is basically
It might be different. I know let's see what you think come up. I have my own experience with what a warrant officer is.
well, and in the merchant marine, because I'm only basing this on like civilian, like quasi military stuff. So in the merchant marines, that would be like is a non-commissioned officer, which means they didn't graduate from officers school, but they are given like a writ that says they're an officer for whatever role they're filling. Like a lot of pilots in World War II are considered like warrant officers because they like didn't graduate from the academy, but we need guys to fill this role, so they're changed. So we're going to give them. It's like an old British term, like writ of warrant or something. And it's So that's what I understand it as being.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they don't go through officer school, although they do go through a sort of warrant officer school. So it's nowadays, but yeah, they're essentially they are enlisted guys who are the masters of their MOS, and then they become officers and they kind of control the training of their MOS. And you have to salute them because they are considered officers, and they're great at solving problems, and they are your worst enemy too. So they just know everything.
Yeah, they're like a slice of mutational hell. They can go any direction they want to on the board. It's yeah. But in like for commercial shipping and stuff, a warrant officer can be a load master, an engineering specialist, a navigation specialist, materials and repair. I don't know. I'm just looking off of. But this is all made up world, so he doesn't know what it is. It just sounds cool. It's he's a warrant officer. What does that mean? I don't know.
Brent and Parker go through a noisy deck and mechanical stuff, which I don't exactly know what this is. Like, I guess it's just the hull, but this is more like the hull in the Nostromo. Like, the stuff in the Nostromo, they're not necessarily going into the ore refinery ever.
Actually, the ore refinery is you'd have to go in a spacesuit because they don't build an atmosphere in there, so they're only on the Nostromo.
Okay.
So that's like if you think of a semi truck, this is like the front of this is like the nose of the trailer is hooked on to the actual thing that drives it, like the tractor. It's actually the Nostromo is called a tractor at one point. So it's like so nose to tail is it's not an environment you can live in. So.
And then we get the crew gathered together, and Dallas tells the crew that they're pulling out of sleep to intercept a beacon of unknown origin. So I have that being the end of Act 1, because it's like, we gotta go find the beacon. So of Act 2, they take the Nostromo and holler to the planet with the beacon.
Well, interesting point here. Now there's a scene where Dallas tells them to play the signal we got. And they play a signal which just sounds like a bunch of weird noise, but it's kind of low key, and it's like, what the hell's that? Now remember the original trailer, for Alien, where it's like bang, bang, and you hear screaming and whirring. Okay, that was the original signal they got. But and when they played it in the movie, that's why the one guy's like, what the hell is that? Because that was what they were supposed to be hearing, not the more low key one that they actually played.
Oh, okay.
So the signal from the original signals can be found in the trailer or on a deleted scenes version of the DVD, where it's like, I'm not going anywhere where that's emitting that signal. Because later on in the movie, we find out where it's like, because Ripley is feeding it through the computer, and she's talking to Ash, and it's like, our computer's saying this sounds like a warning, not necessarily a help me signal.
Yeah.
And Ash is like, silly woman. No, he doesn't say that. It's kind of like, he knows.
And like, I guess this is like, this is the ever known LV-426, which I think that's only named in Aliens. Is it named here that, or that's it not named at all?
I don't remember. I don't think it's named that here though.
Okay.
The world building in this is like the Nostromo.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the universe this exists in.
Well, I mean, there's also stuff where it's like, I know Weyland-Yutani from the rest of the series, and I don't think anybody ever says Weyland-Yutani, but if you look all over the ship, there's stuff that says Weyland-Yutani.
All the patches on their uniforms are the symbol of the company, the coffee cups, the uniforms. It doesn't say Weyland-Yutani, but if you look up closely, like the cigarettes do, but you have to really like zoom in and stuff.
They detach the Nostromo. I guess this isn't a planet. This is a moon, because it's like orbiting like like kind of a Saturn with our rings and stuff like that. They have a hard landing, which causes a bunch of stuff to short circuit or something, which I don't remember this being a thing, but I guess this is what helps make, like, everyone's sort of like, it's dark in here, all the lights are off. So, I guess I'm not sure if they did that for the excuse of like why the lighting is the way it is, or they just needed some drama.
Well, it's drama. Well, they hint around at it, because when they're moving, when they're using the Blade Runner ship through the city effects, where they're moving through the boxes as a corridor.
Yeah.
Remember, they say the moon had a very high albedo, which means it's moving very quickly. And so, and like I said, this isn't like this isn't the Prometheus, where it's a deep space exploring vessel. This is just designed to, pick things up that are heavy and
this is a semi truck going down to the planet.
Well, they're basically landing on a golf ball that's spinning like this. And all these guys are not necessarily top flight people, because if they were, they would be in the military or something in this universe. So they kind of screw up the landing a little bit, because they're also not using equipment designed to land on stuff like that. So there is it is set up to like, this is why the ship gets screwed up a little bit when they land. But if you're not paying attention to it, and it doesn't really matter, but they do throw a line in there like, this planet's moving very quickly. This is going to be really hard to stick this landing near the signal.
And the effects they do with the rockets are really well done, because essentially it's just lights turning on, and then they kind of put like smoke and water dripping out of it, and it makes it look like, it gives off the effect like, oh, it's a rocket pushing it, when it's just a light turning on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a chemical rocket or maybe a nuclear one.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's, what do they call that? That's a French word for that kind of rocket, of like brisance or something. It's like, it's not violent, but there's power in it just by the way it's lit and how it looks. It's like, oh yeah, that's propulsing that away from the thing.
And we got Parker and Brett do like a damage report. They say like they need to fix the ship in dry dock. So they kind of make it seem like a peril here, that like, oh, the ship's falling apart, but that isn't really a concern for the rest of the movie. So.
Well, you got to remember too, Parker and they're like the blue collar guys of this expedition, and they're not getting. They want danger pay. They want cut in at a higher bonus because they're doing this, because they know correctly, like anything you do that's not on mission. On mission enough is dangerous in deep space. It's like that's death on its own. We're doing we're landing places, we're investigating stuff. It's like, our chances of just dying in the most mundane ways have just gone up catastrophically. That's why he's always like, we need to talk about the bonus situation.
Yeah, it's
and like, it's just management. And he's like, look, we finish the mission, we'll worry about the bonus. And
Parker and Brett are basically like the union guys, because they're the ones like, no, we know, like, we need to take advantage of the situation, because they're fucking us. Because even they're like they're trying to guess how long it'll take to fix it, and Brett's like 17 hours, and then Parker gets on the walkie. He's like, it'll take 25 hours. And then Ripley wants to like cut in and be like, hey, cut the shit, you guys. It's not going to take that long. Which is weird. It's like, because kind of start out being Ripley as like the, like one of the like management or something. It's like, what does she do?
She's kind of the bridge between two worlds.
Yeah. Because it makes it seem like she's going to come down and fix stuff, but she just comes down and kind of knows stuff rather than fixes anything. They talk about that the beacon's still putting out a message every 12 seconds. They've landed within walking distance, so they prepare a landing party to head out. It's like cold atmosphere. They're in spacesuits. The landing party is Lambert, Dallas, and Kane. Which Kane is like all for this. He's like ready to go in.
He's excited. Yeah. Great scene. Great use of light in this scene.
Yeah.
Like when they walk out of the airlock of the Nostromo, and that one light's just spinning around real fast, and there's just lots of, steam and stuff flying around everywhere.
I also didn't realize it's supposed to be daytime here, but like the atmosphere is so dark that like the light doesn't really come through. But like you see like a thing, like a bright thing in the sky, but it's not really lighting everything up. It's like, oh, that's the sun, and like that's as much as it can get through the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a very thick atmosphere.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like, oh yeah, definitely a craft would crash here because it's not a forgiving place. Yeah, this is where we have Ripley has a contentious talk with Brett and Parker. Ripley works on getting a message to Mother. This is also where I see like on one of those television screens that says Weyland-Yutani. I saw this on Hulu. Did they redo like the computer graphics? Because they look like too good in the version I saw.
Not that I know of.
Okay, they look like way too clean. Like they just like fixed those in post or something.
I mean, that could very well have. The ones I have two copies of this movie. I have the one from the Alien, like
special edition
or whatever, and then I have like just a regular special edition, and they all look this. I mean, I believe those were like CG generated computer graphics put in later. I don't think that like they actually filmed that as is.
Okay.
But I don't mean CG like modern. I mean at the time, I think they were looking at blank screens and they just added that in later.
Okay.
Because I don't think they could get computers to look that good back then.
Yeah, that's what I was suspecting.
Because the screens look a little flat. Some of them do look like CRT screens, but some of them seem a little flat. It's like, oh, okay, they put that in later.
I mean, there is a lot of movies like they won't film a screen because especially you'll get that the refresh line because television screens put out a different output than a film camera because
Yeah.
usually TV put out 30 frames a second and film cameras are 24,
Okay.
and so you'll see a refresh line because of they are in sync, and so some movies will make a special TV that will be in sync with the camera. But also, a lot of times, what they'll do is they'll just make that a blue screen and then add it in later. That's a very common thing to do. Although some of this stuff, it's like, no, that's physically there because there's some things where there's like a shadow being projected out of the screen or whatever, or light being projected out of the screen. It's like, okay, they didn't put that in post. That looks too like real. um, the landing party trekked their way to a weird looking ship. It's like an asymmetrical horseshoe. There's like two ends and they have different kind of bulbous shapes on each end.
Yeah.
So you guess definitely showing off it's an alien ship, which I think that's just isn't that another Giger painting, just a ship on a hill or whatever, and they just recreate
Yes.
that here. Okay. They go inside the alien ship. I guess we technically don't know it's an alien ship,
Yeah.
but here we get like the full Giger aesthetic where it's just like skin tightly wrapped over bony structures.
And this set, by the way, I think it was the biggest set ever built on the studio.
Yeah.
This is a full size set.
Yeah.
I mean, they hadn't done that since like Ben-Hur, like where they build a full size. It was like the most expensive part of the movie right here, or one of them.
Well, I know there's several scenes to make it look even bigger. When you see the guys walk around, it's actually
children.
it's just like it's literally Scott's kids and some other kids to make it look bigger.
Yeah. Well, there was two reasons that happened. They could take the suits off at the knees and put the kids in them because the adult actors and the stunt people were actually getting to the point they were passing out because they were so hot.
Yeah.
Because those suits had 9 special effects controls built into them that guys had to follow along with. There was like the lights. I remember the steam that would shoot out of their head when they breathed.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a guy running a thing doing that, following along, and there was some other stuff that went on. They had 9 because the suits there were mechanical things going on the front of them, and it actually looked pretty cool. But yeah, it was miserable for the actors. Absolutely miserable.
And as far as I know, the alien suit's even worse.
Yeah.
It's just wrap you tightly up in something and then have it so you sweat and then your sweat can't evaporate, so you're just like hot and terrible and sweaty and sticky
And can't breathe.
Yeah. Just bringing it. Yeah, getting sleepy from the CO2 you're bringing in. Let's see here. Kane climbed up and sees the space jockey, which I called it the rocket jockey at first, but then I put that in. It's like, oh, that's a video game. It's a space jockey. What this is, where it's like it's some large form, vaguely humanoid, embedded in a chair that looks like it has either a large gun or telescope on the end of the chair.
Yeah.
And then, does it have like an extra large face hugger on it?
No, that's just like, well, you don't know then.
Yeah.
But no, it's like part of the structure of its helmet or its face.
Okay.
You're not sure. Because it has a hole in the side of it.
We know it's
yeah.
Yeah, it's been alienized, but I wasn't sure if like the thing on its face, like, is that an extra large face hugger? But I was not sure because I don't think I've ever seen that one that big. So yeah, it must have just been the aesthetic of the thing. But also, yeah, just I don't know what that chair is doing, but it looks like, yeah, even Dallas says it looks like it's growing out of the chair. So it's like, well, what the hell happened there? What kind of chair is this?
Yeah, we don't know. It's just a giant alien. Only in later movies do we find out
they try to.
There's like a giant human inside there, or whatever.
Prometheus or engineer. That's what they
engineer. But even though they're like 99% human, but they're just giant and they all look exactly the same, and yeah, it's all kind of weird.
But yeah, this is just another Giger painting just brought to life just for interest. It's like, what's that? It's like, that's up to you to decide.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
because in the version of this movie I watched with the director's commentary, this was before Prometheus or anything, and that's exactly what he said. It's like, yeah, we're just leaving this up to the viewer to decide what this is. He,
yeah.
'cause he didn't have any ideas, or at least wasn't sharing them when he cut that director's commentary. So,
But yeah, he said yeah, there's a hole in the chest of this alien, and Dallas says the bones are spread outward like something came out. So it's foreshadowing.
yeah, and they were like, oh, decompressions. I don't know.
Kane finds a hole in the deck, so they just head in. We cut back to Ripley decodes the beacon as being a warning rather than like a SOS. She wants to go out and warn them, but Ash gets weird about it and discourages them. Like, no, you'll get there. It'll be too late. So, if anything bad has happened, it'll have already happened. So there's no reason to go out there. Which I'm like weird. Is like, don't they have like telecommunication going on? But I guess not.
No, there's too much interference from the atmosphere.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
'Cause they
they
thought
probably
they
mentioned
would, because Dallas is talking, and all of a sudden he's breaking up, and he's like,
that. Oh,
"Ah, the
okay.
atmosphere is creating comms problems."
Okay, that makes sense then.
That's why Ripley couldn't get her message through. Not like Dallas would have stopped, but
So yeah, Kane goes down in the alien cargo bay. It's full of smoke and lasers, which plus what she calls leather eggs, which is
yes,
another terrifying sentence. He talks about the laser being like some sort of trigger or something, but just kind of he crosses it and it creates a sound. I don't know if it like triggers the eggs or triggers a warning. You know, this is up for you to decide.
yeah.
But yeah, this is the
I
very
saw a bunch of shit like that under a bunch of laser beams. I'm not gonna like, let's pull that in there and see what's going on.
But yeah, the late smoke and laser stuff is like, yeah, this is definitely 80s stuff. It's a great way to just have a dark scene and let the smoke, you don't have to build a set if you can just breathe some smoke out there and hit it with the laser, and like it'll kind of build detail unto itself and look neat. So it's a very cheap way to have something look kind of like expressive and interesting. And then it got overused in the 80s.
Yeah, well, I heard in this scenes particularly they had to hurry up because that set was very moist from all the because the smoke in that and a lot of aliens was just like condensated water.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a smoke machine. Like it's hard to breathe if you put too much of that in the room. So a lot of this was like condensed water and other things. And it's like, yeah, we better get this electrical equipment out of here. We're gonna have a fire. This is a very wet set, as I understand. Which was a part of the organic look too, was to like wet the set down.
Yeah,
Because everything had to look like a giant uterus or whatever. H.R. Giger was always doing weird, and he's actually said he was doing that stuff. It's not like an interpretation. He was like, "No, this is the ladies. This is what they look like," and yeah. And the alien basically was supposed to look like a penis, and it's like, yeah, actually it was. They admit all this stuff, but
what is the opposite of phallic? Yonic. Yeah, there's a bunch of phallic and yonic stuff. Anywhere you look, it's like
oh yeah, it's all over the place. And this is really the only movie that's done in. Yeah, it doesn't really do that. But again, this was the 70s, and it's a weird time.
yeah.
It's the end of the 70s after everyone has had all the cocaine and sex, and they're like, yes, this is a movie now.
But there's also, I mean, like we watched Barbarella too, and that's just more straightforward. But that's like camp phallic symbols and stuff like this, and this is like your nightmare phallic symbols.
Yeah, Barbarella looks like a fun, sexy romp, where this looks like, oh, sex is truly hell. Sex not only is like the folly of man and it leads to sin, but it is actually it's like, oh no, the phallus and the vagina, like they open the door to like, it's like the puzzle box in Hellraiser.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, wow, you really have a weird idea there, Mr. Giger, but okay.
Kane approaches an egg. He puts his hand over it, and it kind of like there's a quick little sound is heard. Then he sees some sort of life in the translucent bottom of the egg, and again, this is unsettling. It's like, what's that?
Ridley Scott's hands, as I understand,
Okay.
in gloves, moving around like in a shadow box inside.
Just tape some chicken to my to my hands and let's do this.
Yeah, what is the Ridley Scott accent? Where's he from?
He's
Is he
British.
Scottish or British?
He's British.
British, okay.
I want to say he's a London guy, but I don't know.
Let's see where he was born. It's there's gonna be some weird like Tinsdale on Tyne, which doesn't tell me. Oh, South Shields, England.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, I don't say okay. I just like okay, England. I don't know where that is.
bank of the River Tynes was known in Roman times as Alberia.
What's their soccer team?
Don't know. It'll tell me though. I'm on their Wikipedia page. I know what their average precipitation is. Oh, they're considered British people if you're from there.
Okay.
That's the south of England. So yeah, he would be. Well, no. Where is that? It's kind of in a little bit in the north of England. I don't know. But he's not Scottish, so.
No. Well, yeah. What's that? Oh, I forget. It has a weird name for that kind of British accent that's kind of like proper. It's like what perceived English.
Oh.
It's like kind of.
I know there's something called received pronunciation.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Received pronunciation.
Yeah.
Which doesn't explain anything.
Well, it's why they add like when they say color or
Put the U in it.
Yeah, they'll say it weird too. They won't say color, they'll say color.
Color.
My favorite one though is we say pedophile, they say pedophile. And it's like, why are you saying it like that? And it's like, well, that's how the word is. That's received pronunciation. It's like that's how the word presents.
Aluminium.
Yeah, aluminium.
How do they say jaguar? Jaguar.
Yeah, but that's just kind of how they roll.
And then tire spelled with a Y for some reason.
Yeah, but it's pronounced the same.
Yeah.
That's just they do weird things with consonants too. Like whenever they were talking about President Obama, it's always like, oh, Obama will be making a state visit, but they're not. I'm saying Obama.
Yeah.
But when they say it, it's like they're saying Obama, but then they just like throw an R on the end of right at the end of the O. Oh, President Obama will be. It's like, what are you saying, dude? But
I remember it was a fun trick to doing a British accent, at least for one word. To do a posh, or at least do one word of a posh British accent, you say ears, but you're meant to be saying yes. So you go ears.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, sir, would you like the tea? Ears.
It's like the guys who round their R's. Instead of really, they're like, will we? It's like, huh? But if you do that with a British accent, it sounds like proper. It's like, but if you do it with an American accent, it sounds like you have a speech impediment.
The egg opens up and gurgles, and then the face hugger jumps out and attaches to Cade's helmet, which, they don't call it the face hugger. I just know that from years of...
Yeah.
That's what they call it in video games and movies and stuff like actually, in video games, I don't think they ever say face hugger in the entire universe.
No, I don't actually. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think they do.
But yeah, this is a thing that just looks like lungs, a tail, and hands.
Yep.
So it's a nightmare coming at you. It's very quick. It attaches to its helmet and then just cut away. And then all of a sudden the landing party is coming back with Kane's unconscious body, which they seem to haul around very well.
Yeah, it's like Lambert must be like built. Picking up this guy in a full-size spacesuit. Must be jacked.
Because they're just dragging him along. He's not like, they're not just like holding him up and he helps along. They're just carrying dead weight, right?
Yeah, it's what it looks like.
Okay. They get in the airlock.
I'm guessing they went down there and craned him back up because the reason he was down there by himself was they had to lower him down on a boom.
Yeah, he does have a wire attached to him, so they could.
So he never unhooked it, so they just pulled him back up.
Yeah,
okay, because I was gonna say, wouldn't the other guy go down there and get a face hugger? But maybe that.
Because I remember the wire. I was like, "Oops, is that a production mistake?" Because like, oh wait, no, he rappelled down, so he's still attached to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they get back to the airlock, and there's an argument between Ripley and Dallas, like over quarantine and treatment. It's like, we don't know what that is, so he got quarantined for a day. It's like, and they're like, well, he could be dead by then, so we got to get him in there. And of course, Ash is just chomping at the bit to let them in, so he does. Then we cut to med bay. Here's where they slice open Kane's helmet. It's kind of a cool little thing. Looks like something from Star Trek, and then the helmet just splits open. They reveal the face hugger on Kane's face. It's like a tail that has like wrapped around his throat. It has like lungs that's like breathing for him. Because presumably like his helmet was breached, so it's like, okay, is he dead? It's like, no, it's breathing for him. So, um, they do a scan on Kane. The thing has a tube going down his throat. Dallas orders Ash to cut it off Kane. And so they got to cut to like one of the knuckles, and then it squirts like sulfuric acid, or what do they call it? They call it like, oh, like atomized acid or something. I can't remember what they call it. There's like, so it's a different kind of acid. um, but you know, it just eats through the hull of the ship. Like it goes through like 3 different hulls and then eventually stops. So it's like, oh yeah, there's no stopping this thing. This thing's basically just a bomb of acid. And it's incapacitated one of your crew.
Yeah, it's a very cool scene because they're worried it's going to eat through the hull of the ship
Yeah.
because it goes through the floor and then they just keep chasing it down. But then Dallas is like, "Don't get underneath it." You know, it's like, "Oh yeah, probably a good idea."
Yeah, and he like he touches it with his pen, and then because it's like starts to smoke the pen but not melt it. It's like, all right, we're good, and he just hands it back to Brett, and Brett's like, what do I do with this? Well, he doesn't say that. You just see that on his face.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We cut to Brett and Parker are back on repairs. They just want to do a quick patch and get off the planet. It's like,
Yeah. Again, acting logically. It's like, oh, let's get out of here.
Yeah, this is already way too weird. Let's leave before even weirder stuff happens. Ash is analyzing alien stuff. Ripley talks with Ash, like, to his annoyance. And then here they have an argument over quarantine where he's like, you know, when they're off the ship, I'm the acting captain. And so, like, when they're in their airlock, he's not the captain, I am. And then Ash is extra weird because that's what he's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know why, but
Yeah. Although it's interesting to watch this now because then, like, I guess it makes what's the synth character in Prometheus?
oh, David?
Yeah, I guess it makes David make more sense. It's like, oh, they're all like this.
Yeah, they didn't. Well, the thing with Ash, I mean, in the canon of the universe, if you look into it, is that the difference between like Ash and like Bishop from Aliens is like Bishop was a known synthetic.
Yeah.
He kind of looked weird. He sort of didn't have emotions. He did, but he didn't. You know, he was just like obviously a synthetic human being. It's like, oh, this was how if we could build a person if he wasn't organically grown. Whereas Ash is supposed to be an infiltration person.
Okay.
So you're never supposed to know that he's synthetic. So when he acts really weird in the movie, it's like, I don't know if they did this deliberately, but the thing is, like, he's just pretending to be human. He's not doing, as the stress levels go up, it's like he's not doing very well. It's like, oh, he's acting weird. And it's like, well, yeah, because he's not really a person. He's a synthetic person who's trying to like, oh, I have to feel this way, I have to do this, I have to do that. So it looks like an actor struggling with his role, which is like kind of cool. It's, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it works once you understand that.
Yeah, because it's weird because it seems like he's acting under the guidelines of the company, but then is also freelancing his own interest of curiosity of like, well, what's this? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a human and neither is it. So do I have more in common with this than I do humans? Which is interesting to look at because I feel like with just this movie unto itself, you wouldn't necessarily drag that out of here. But because there's been so many other movies now that exist as a potential like backstory or whatever, what's going on in the mind of Ash.
Yeah, that could very well be because this goes back to like all this owes to a lot to 2001.
Yeah.
Because essentially with David and Ash, it's like whenever you give an artificial intelligence like conflicting guidelines, they always go crazy because they can never like, you know, thread the needle of that. because
Yeah.
it's like only organic humans are capable of cognitive dissonance, not machines, which actually makes sense because we can't grow their brains and give them our experience because they don't live what you call subjectively or with free will, and really neither do we if you ask some people. But let's not get lost in
Yeah,
that.
but
But
if humans will eventually act out of their own self-interest, and that will override any kind of
yeah, program.
conflicts. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, I should probably do what I've been told to, and it's like, what if I didn't?
yeah.
You know what? That seems favorable. um,
Well, that's why like you can say like all the synthetics in the alien universe are not like they're not good or bad because they don't have any free will.
yeah,
Like owls never act to preserve themselves, and it's like, well, that's clearly something that has no free will because that's what stops humans. It's like, yeah, we'll eventually act in self-preservation, and if we don't, we're like remembered as saints and martyrs because so few people do it. It's like, oh yeah,
well,
that person's remarkable.
I guess that's what's interesting about what's he in Aliens? Bishop, it's Bishop, right?
Yeah,
Where he's like, it's like, oh, he's a synth, and he kind of has superpowers, but he's always concerned about other people doing. He always takes orders, but they also never give him a gun.
yeah. Well, he can't kill anything,
Yeah,
unlike David and Ash.
yeah,
Because that's the inhibitors they're talking about, the behavioral like controls that they had to put in them. Because I guess like in the alien universe, like there were wild things that happened with synthetics, but always because some evil agent of a corporation or someone gave them like really weird orders.
yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, these things will become killing machines.
Or you leave them on a space station to do work for eternity, and then
Yeah,
and then the code like breaks down, and they barely look like humans. And then when they encounter humans, they want to choke it to death for some reason. Which I get all
well,
that from Alien Isolation.
yeah. Well, synthetics were never supposed to be stronger or more durable than humans. They were just basically like not feed for the aliens.
Yeah,
But that later became, it's like, no, they are strong and fast, but really like the Ash and the Bishop one, like, yeah, they were a little more durable than humans, but not much. They could be easily killed by humans or aliens if they wanted to. But it seems like the David one was, well, David never really fought with anyone. He just always was several steps ahead. And
yeah.
he only revealed like he was evil as you were going into
Well,
the pod or something. It's like, oh yeah, now I'm fucked.
yeah, but he also did weirder things. Or is that the other David that does all the thing where he like what's the Sandra or whatever, the German chick, and where he like clones her and makes weird shit out of her bodies.
Oh, Numi Rapace, yeah. Yeah. That's the same one. It's the same one in Prometheus and Covenant.
Well, doesn't he make like another version of himself, and then there's supposed to be a switch of like, oh, which David did we get? The evil
No, it was
one.
there was the David on the Covenant had an English or didn't have an English accent. The David from Prometheus did, but they were
Okay.
the same model. It's just the David from Covenant was a lot newer, and he had an American accent.
Oh, okay.
That's how you knew, because in the end, when he's closing the cryopod on I forget the character's name, then he talks in his British accent right as she's going under, and she knows like, oh yeah, I'm just going to be a genetic experiment for eternity.
Okay, so yeah, there was two Davids. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there were two Davids, but
He came with
was,
the ship. I was under the assumption like he made his own David, so that's why I
no,
got that wrong. Also, he killed an entire race of people, so he does kill people.
yeah, he's a dark guy.
I gotta make my art. What is art to a machine?
Well, remember, he was just ahead by the end of Prometheus.
Dallas hangs out in the escape shuttle listening to classical music. Ash wants Dallas to come look at Kane. So they go back to the med bay. The facehugger is gone from Kane, and so they cautiously enter, looking around for the thing. Yeah, at some point, Ash like closes the door. It's like, oh, good thing you don't let it get out, or also like make sure they don't get out. Like, who do you want? Do you not want the thing to get out, or do you not want them to get out? Like, what? You can look at that any way you want. The corpse of the facehugger kind of just falls onto Ripley. Dallas runs to protect her, so I guess that's some positioning about like, oh, she can't do anything. She's not a hero. Ash pokes the alien and wants to like keep it on board and bring it back to Earth, and Ripley wants to get it off the ship, so she doesn't trust Ash. You can see that. So So they blast off from the planet. There's some contention about the ship holding together, but it's okay. And so they dock back with the hauler. We cut to, I think, they have another meeting. Parker just wants to freeze Kane, and they'll just handle everything later. Great idea, and doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's like that's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah. At this
I
point,
mean, you have no idea what's coming.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Dallas is like frozen with indecision, where he's like, "Let's just get back, okay? Let's just get back, all right? I'm just a company guy." And then Ash just seems like he's doing his job, I guess, but he's like extra weird about it.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is like, "Yeah, no. Before we just get on with it, how about we get all this shit out of here and then get on with it?" Let's see here. They're 10 months away from Earth. We cut to Kane is awake and groggy. Kane doesn't have any memory of the incident, so I'm guessing he's just. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how far back his memory goes. Like maybe he thinks he's just coming up out of the pod or something.
Yeah, it's not very clear.
Then we have dinner time with the crew. Kane's really hungry. I don't know what the hell he's eating. Like some stringy mushroom salad thing. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. It's something like designed to, it's like weirdly organic looking.
Kane starts retching and he falls on the table. They think he's like having a seizure because like Parker keeps trying to shove a spoon in his teeth. They hold him down, and here's where the chest buster, which again never said, but it's a thing. That's what they call it in all the like Wikipedia entries you'll look up about it.
Yep.
It pops up out of Kane's chest, makes some weird sound, like kind of, I don't know, like a digital baby or whatever.
Yep.
And then
Metal teeth.
yeah. And then it's covered in blood and it skitters away. Yeah, it basically just looks like an umbilical cord come to life as a monster.
It was described by I think it was Giger and one other person. Someone else said it was like it was a phallus emerging and establish its dominance as the largest phallus in the room, and then it runs away.
So usually the vagina has the teeth, but now the penis does.
Oh well, yeah. I mean that's yeah. Like I said, we wrap this up. I'll explain a lot of the stuff that was said and that I believe.
So yeah, so Kane is dead.
Obviously.
They spent. Also, he hilariously reprised this role for Spaceballs.
That's right, he did.
But they have come on, my lady, come on, my dog, come on. They do that with the alien, which I think he's still alive in that one.
Yeah.
They spent some time looking for the new alien form, which this is just, the evolution of this thing is amazing and like frightening. It's like,
yeah, I mean, this thing would be growing like a foot an hour. Like it's. And they do find its skin all over the place. It's shedding skin.
I don't know what it's feeding on, but maybe it's just growing. Maybe it's just becoming. Maybe it weighs exactly the same, but it just has a larger structure it's better structuralized. But the thing seems like it weighs like 600 pounds, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But, maybe it doesn't feed on organic stuff. Maybe it's like eating the hull and it's silicon based or whatever.
Well, that's what like Kane says.
Oh, okay.
It's like he's looking at its structure and its skin. It's like, oh yeah, this thing could survive in a vacuum. Like it's just its skin reforms into whatever environment it is. It's mostly silicate based or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they spend some time looking for the new alien form. They eject Kane's body into space. Brett makes like a homemade cattle prod to stun the alien because I think they're just looking for this little thing.
Yeah.
Ash has made a homebrew motion tracker. And I also thought the flamethrower was homebrew, but apparently that's just standard, standard weapons on the ship.
Yeah, that makes sense kind of as a spaceship weapon as opposed to a firearm. So it's like,
I don't want a projectile going through the hull, but also creating fire on a ship is not great either.
Yeah,
but...
like fires in submarines are the most frightening thing that happens. So, but they're easy to put out in space. You just evacuate.
Yeah.
Space, but that also creates its own problem because you can't breathe.
It's
But
weird. It's weird how the motion tracker in this movie basically has all the elements that ends up in Aliens, but Aliens is just way more effective. Mostly because of the beep sound. They just get that better in Aliens.
well, yeah, and they also coordinate it with it's like putting out some kind of radar.
Yeah.
Whereas in this thing is just like a prod,
Yeah.
it's like some kind of probe, and it just tracks movement. It's like in Aliens, it's like, oh, it's like 12 meters away from me, and it's like, doo, doo, doo. It's always putting out that
Yeah,
sonar.
and the sound always gets louder as it gets closer. Where here it
Yeah,
just kind of makes a and then somebody says, it's right on top of you. And we're in Aliens. It's like bee 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 bee. It's basically like the EKG meter going dead as like they descend upon you. um,
I like how they and all this stuff like they try to recreate in real life too. Like people at the Pentagon like watch the like I guess a lot of stuff from like Predator and Aliens is like the guys at the Pentagon is like, when can we have that? We want the what do we? It's like we want the suit that camouflages and we want motion trackers.
yeah.
And then they realize like, well, yeah, you can have stuff like that, but you'll need a semi truck parked next to it to power it. You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're trying to do all this linked war stuff, which sounds amazing, but like, well, the Russians are great at defeating that stuff like that.
Yeah, any software we can make, they can hack.
Um, but they can never make the software because if anything they make, we can also hack.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the Russians are just better at subverting, structure and rules. So,
Yeah, they think that way. We're not.
But like they want to put like they like these the mixed reality goggles on a soldier, and then like somebody like scouting out an area just looking at something can then send that data back to the artillery guys, and then like in minutes they're just shelling it, and it's like that would be like a 2-hour relaying information in any other modern warfare, and now it happens in seconds. Like
Yeah.
that would be incredibly frightening.
A lot of destructive power just released, on a whim.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, it's like yeah, let's send pictures of the base back, and like, no, this is an enemy location, and then you're shelling your own forward base. That's what the Russians would do,
Yeah.
or we would do. We'll
Whoops.
do that shit too.
Ripley, Parker, and Brett go down into the cargo and mechanical areas looking for the thing. The lights are on the fritz. They get scared by Jonesy the cat hiding in a compartment, which is where I thought, because it kind of looked like these compartments were like dripping with blood. So I thought like, did the alien go in there and get all its food? But I don't know what these compartments are. That's not blood. There's just a cat in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how the cat got in there. Probably was scared by the alien.
Yeah, cat's good at surviving.
They send they send Brett Brett, the cat runs away and they get mad at Brett for not catching the cat. He's like, what, it's just a cat. And they're like, no, it's going to keep showing up on the radar, so like go get it. So they send Brett to go get Jonesy the cat. He gets eyes on the cat, but it like runs off. He finds some skin shedding around, which he's kind of creeped out by that. But here it's kind of small, but you have to be like, it's gone bigger. He continues on to a room that's just like full. I mean, this is basically just full on Hellraiser here. It's like a room full of chains and water dripping.
Yeah.
And then Brett like cools down a bit, which I'm like, I don't know what, that's like a nuclear reactor. I don't know. Just cool off in the reactor runoff water or whatever the hell this is. I guess this would be like a cooling tower or something.
Yeah.
Which I guess that wouldn't make sense in space. Maybe it would not. He walks towards some more sounds that go off. I think he just finds the cat again. But then the alien kind of like slinks up behind him and reveals itself. This is the classic xenomorph. Just the weird bulbous shape without eyes. And you get two mouths and one extends outward. It's just like bleeding translucent blood or something, or that's supposed to be acid. Well, I don't think it's acid. It's just, it's all kinds of seminal nastiness coming at you.
Yeah, it's all something. It all has a subversive undermeaning.
So yeah, this is a classic, Giger looking thing. It's also a great alien Because also the thing that people get wrong all the time and trying to make their own aliens is like, what do you do with the eyes? And the eyes always look stupid. It's like, what if it didn't have eyes? Now it's much more frightening. Like, how does this thing feel, look? What is its sensor capabilities? Like, I have no idea. Of course, they like later on they'd have all sorts of weird things. I see it mostly in like the Alien versus Predator stuff, where like when the aliens like attach itself to a different race or thing of something, then a different type of alien pops out. Because like in Alien 3, it infects a dog, and so it's like a weird red alien that has more dog-like features. Um,
Yeah.
so it kind of like takes on some things from its host.
Yeah,
But
they
then,
basically establish in the later books and in the Alien RPG that like it's actually the face huggers put like a genetic mutanogen in you,
yeah.
and that like it has the core programming of forming an alien, but it also borrows from the genetics of its host.
Which is very frightening.
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel.
And wasn't this all the idea for this thing was all born from like a wasp that like lays its eggs in like a spider or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure because I like I said I know it was originally called Star Beast.
Yeah,
It was a parasitic thing, but I don't know particularly which one because I think Dan O'Bannon was the one who came up with it.
yeah.
But I'm not sure, and Robert Suchet, but I'm not sure like what particularly they based it on. But I know it was like a combat, like that wasn't the final, like because like the initial script was passed on like by 7 different groups. It's like, yeah, we don't want to make this, we don't want to make this. But then when Ridley Scott got a hold of it and then brought on H.R. Giger, like Giger had a lot of ideas too, not beyond just the art of like, oh yeah, how could this become a nightmare? And it's like, well, what if humans were part of the life cycle? Like that's like stuff going around killing. That's why like the Thing is so horrifying too. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's what if you became part of its, like it just didn't tear you
Yeah,
apart.
yeah. You're not just food; you're a part of its life cycle. And
Yeah, it's like that's,
are you still conscious of that? Like, are you still you, but you're just a part of this thing? Like, that's even more frightening than rather than you just being like, I don't know, just
dead.
DNA for this or whatever.
Yeah.
Brett gets like stuck in the face with like its secondary mouth, which seems like a kill shot, but he's still screaming.
Yeah.
Which yeah, it's very you don't know what the alien needs from people, because there are cut scenes of like like but Dallas being like pinned against a wall and like some kind of webbing, and he's like, kill me, and it's like
Oh yeah, that's when the people like mutated into eggs or whatever.
okay.
That was never included in the final. I was like, that was just too weird.
Okay, is that
It
what's
was
going
just
on there?
assumed. Well, yeah, that's how they wrote it, but then it later became assumed that like, no, it's just eating the people it's taking to grow.
Well, in Aliens, they make it like they're pinning them against the wall, so then the face huggers can get released and easier
Yeah.
procreate.
Yeah, but in this movie they didn't have the concept of the queen laying
Yeah.
eggs and all that stuff, and so that was why yeah, that was why where the Tom Skerritt scene came from.
But yeah, that was cut from the movie.
Yeah, because it was just too weird.
But yeah, you don't necessarily know if the people getting taken away are still alive or not. Whereas in Alien, there's like a bunch of people get taken away. Like most of them are dead, but then there's like, oh, we can still read them; they're alive.
Yeah, they still getting their life support readings. Yeah.
But yeah, this is like also a great take. Like, oh, here's this little snake thing that ran off, and now it's like a 7-foot tall, weird alien bone skin creature.
Yep. Played by an actor who is 6'2" and very thin, fit into this outfit.
Which, if I remember correctly, was a nightmare. It's like
Yeah, it was terrible.
just sweat like 10 pounds by the end of the day.
Oh yeah,
It's just like being in an F1 car for 2 hours in a row.
and they're shooting water down on you, and there's puppetry effects like when the saliva and everything comes out of it. It's like, yeah, that's all pumped through it. Very warm bladders operated by guys back, and it's like, oh yeah, all practical effects. But yeah, it's
So
really
imagine if they had fluorescent or no, the halogen lighting or whatever. That would have been even worse. So
oh yeah.
thank God they shot with fluorescence. I wonder if they shoot with LEDs. I wonder if anybody's done that. I wonder if that helps or makes it worse. I don't
No,
know.
because those flicker.
Oh.
You see them on. You've ever seen like you
Oh,
have
okay.
your phone on and you're taking video, and it's like, why are the lights flickering on that car? It's like, well, yeah, because your camera can pick that up, but your eyes. I forget why our eyes don't see the LED flicks. I think we censor it out, or it doesn't register because of how our
Yeah.
eyes perceive the light.
Yeah, yeah, because I could use the excuse of frames per second, but our eyes don't work like that, so who knows?
Yeah. There's some reason we don't see the flicker, but when we do, it's like, oh, we know exactly what it is. So subconsciously, we know the flicker's there. But it's just so much more efficient to light that way. That's like that's all we're doing. I don't think I have a real light bulb in this house anymore.
um, there's another crew meeting. The alien, they figure that the alien is moving around the air shafts, and so there's a debate about whether Brett is still alive. Because as he's dragged away screaming, you don't know. But even though it's like, well, didn't that thing go through his head? It's like, oh.
Yeah.
So they make another plan to get the alien off the ship. So, like, now that they know it's big and dangerous, and can carry people away effortlessly. We cut to Dallas goes and talks to the computer trying to get an answer, like about what to do with the alien. But oh, this is like a completely useless scene because
Yeah.
the computer gives no answer whatsoever. So I don't know if this builds tension or I don't really know what this does for the movie.
Well, it basically establishes that there's other forces at play.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing you have to worry about is not just the alien. Like there's obviously somebody's not being honest with you because this machine would obviously have some kind of answer for you.
We cut to Dallas goes in the air
The
ducts.
computers don't lie.
They can't lie, right?
Right.
Dallas goes in the air duct, so they're like trying to like section off the alien, and they're trying to chase it out. Lambert's tracking Dallas with a motion sensor. But this is where they cut to like they show like the grid screen on it, which is basically sort of like what they do in Aliens. Although that one has like a little like that one's more of a radar, and it has like this cool rotating thing. Like as they turn, like the dial turns on the device in Aliens.
Yeah.
Here it's just kind of a grid with like I don't know, like a light cycle racing around.
Yeah, the Tron light cycle.
I actually think that came out the same year as this.
No, that was early 80s. They're probably developing it, filming it then. Yeah.
No, not Tron Legacy. Oh, 82. Okay, never mind.
That was probably being filmed, or at least pre-production at this time.
Yeah. Tron, a movie nobody likes, but it seems to be like the progenitor to so many different things.
It was basically the Matrix before it was cool.
Let's see here. Parker and Lambert have flamethrowers now. Or not Lambert. Dallas has a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Lambert tells Dallas that he's close to the alien, so he just kind of sprays some flames around. It's like, I will just hit this little, hit it with a little that. And then the tracker malfunctions, and then it comes back online just in time to signify that the alien's like coming right for Dallas. And then Dallas just ends up moving right into its way. Which is a really good jump scare. All the alien does is it's like, it's like it goes for a hug and then they cut away.
Well, it's very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Because they're in air vents.
Yeah.
They're not able to stand up and really articulate and move around very well. But the alien's like in pure darkness, and he like looks one way, and then when he looks the other way, the alien pops out. So. And then we cut to Dallas, or Parker throws Dallas's flamethrower on the table, saying he didn't see any blood, that Dallas is just gone. So again, we don't know, like, is it dead? Is it not? Is it eaten? What's going on? Ripley wants to keep on with Dallas's plan. Lambert just wants to leave in the escape shuttle, but I guess
is there still 5? Yeah, there's 5 people around. So like, there's the shuttle only holds 4, so you
Yeah.
can't do anything about
Got to wait for this thing to liquidate a few more of you.
it. Ripley wants to corner it and blast it out into space because it's like, yeah, that'll get rid of it. At least it'll get it off the ship pretty conveniently.
Yeah, you can't like defy gravity. You can't move back towards the ship if you blow it out of pressurized airlock.
Unless those weird spines on the back of it, it's a really good, like, effective farting propulsion system.
Wild alien just farts. It clearly is a fart and it moves back to the ship. When are we supposed to be afraid or amused?
Parker goes to refill the flamethrowers. Ripley goes into the mother computer room. Ripley tries to get answers out of Mother, but it says for science officers only. But then she just kind of asks it like, "What's this protocol?" And it basically just tells her everything. It's like, well, that's weird. That's a weird circumvent of the. So she's able to get the directives. Where it says priority 1: ensure return of organism for analysis. All other considerations secondary. Crew expendable. So that's when you know it's like, okay, there's a corporate conspiracy against them. But that's, I don't know, that's another thing where it's like, with the later movies, it explains like, oh, they knew this all the time that this thing was here. Whereas here, it's
Prometheus happened 70 years earlier. Like, oh, they already knew what this was.
Here, it's a mystery. It's like, did they know or did they not know? It's like,
yeah, it's the best retconning ever.
Then Ash is suddenly there, which is basically like a jump scare. He's just kind of like smiling.
It's the second best jump scare in the movie. It's like, why is this creep here? It's the only time you see the character smile.
And he's like, there's an explanation for this. And then Ripley grabs Ash and like shoves him in the wall. She has like a mini emotional breakdown and then leaves. Then we cut to Ash like traps Ripley in like this area. Or also like Ripley just like suddenly has like a nosebleed for no reason. I don't know. Was there a reason for a nosebleed, or is that just like a good stress, or is it just like happenstance that she just happened to her nose started to bleed and they just kept it in the movie?
I think it was designed to like establish something in your mind for what's about to happen.
Okay, she bleeds blood, he bleeds milk, or whatever.
Yeah. What the? So now you know it's like something's not right with Ash.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think. That's what I always got out of it.
Okay, I
didn't think he punched her. At first, I thought, did he hit her? But it's like, no, he would have like crushed her skull if he hit her.
Okay, I didn't know if that was like.
Not. I don't know how strong Ash really is.
I mean, he can hold off. He can hold off Parker pretty well, so he's pretty strong. Or at least he just has really good grip strength.
Yeah,
like he can just hold on. He can't really throw you about too much, because I mean,
he's not like a Terminator.
I mean, he's throwing around Ripley, but she's also like 90 pounds. So. But he's not throwing around Parker. He's just kind of holding on. But yeah, I didn't know if that was just like happenstance that she was bleeding from the nose, or if that was planned. So that's what I was questioning here. But yeah, Ash traps Ripley in like this area. He stares creepily at her, and then like this milk runs down his head or whatever. And like what? And there's always like, you always see him drinking milk. You're like, what the hell is that? And then he starts throwing Ripley around, where it seems like she's unconscious at point, but every time he picks her up, she's still kind of groggy and conscious, and throws her into like, I don't know, Brett's pornography or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Brett's pornography corner.
Brett's porn corner.
He like rolls up a
No, don't put me in the stroking hut.
He like rolls up a porn mag and then puts it over her mouth, and apparently is suffocating her. It's very weird. I've never seen that before.
Okay, here's the explanation from the director of that: rolling up a pornographic magazine very tightly. It's a phallic thing, and he's going to shove his artificial phallus down Ripley's throat to kill her. Not the most efficient way for him to kill her. He could just break her neck or suffocate her, but crush her windpipe. But no, he chooses to do it this way because he's not really a man, but he wants to kill this woman, kind of like similar to what the face hugger shoved something down the other guy's throat. So that's how this is directly from the director. I'm not like, this isn't my thought. It's like, oh, that's weird, but it's why it explains this. Once you hear it, you're like, okay, that's why he's doing this inefficient instead of just getting a knife out of the thing and stabbing her. It's like, oh, okay.
or he's weirdly subverting his programming where it's like maybe it won't let him kill her, but like this is like some workaround he seemed out like, well, if I put a magazine on her and then I just close off the magazine and then she stops breathing, that's not my fault.
Yeah, she could have fought harder.
Parker and Lambert show up and try to stop Ash. Parker hits him with a fire extinguisher, and then his head pops off, revealing that he's a robot. Which I guess this is another just like weird reveal in this movie. This is one you don't see coming. It's like, what is this movie doing? What does this mean?
Yeah, because he's like bouncing around with his arms going like this, like his head is like knocked backwards over his back.
Yeah,
his body's still moving around. Remember when Parker tries to stop him at first, he does like the hand grip on his chest.
yeah.
And then it's like, and Parker's like immediately reacts to that, like, oh crap, just one hand in that. So yeah,
he's trying to grab my heart through my chest. Jesus Christ. And then like the robot kind of comes back to life and tries to kill Parker by like strangling him, even though it's like the head's on backwards, but the arms are still going for him. And then Lambert hits the robot with the cattle prod and knocks it out. Then we cut to Ash's in pieces, and they're trying to activate Ash again and like just interrogate him. Here's where Ash. This is a pretty obvious cut where it's like here they keep trying to set the model up, and then they just cut to like Ian Holm in a cutout table. That's fine.
Well, the problem they had is they did a mold of his head.
Yeah.
Which means Ian Holm had to be dunked in this plaster and then have straws put in his nose so he could breathe. And they poured the mold for this special effects head, and then they had a delay in shooting for like 2 days, so they were doing something else, and they came back and the head had shrunk 2 times. So they couldn't have it on camera very long because it was obviously, it looked like a shrunken head, like from the Headhunters or whatever. It's like, well, that's not going to work. So yeah, it was a real quick cut because the damn head they made, when it cured up, it shrunk too much.
Yeah, here Ash says like you can't kill it; it's a perfect organism. So this is when you can work backwards from this. Of like, what does this mean? Like, yeah, Ash doesn't feel human, so he's more in line with this being. So is that why he turned on the crew, or is this purely like for corporate greed, or somewhere in between?
He's jealous of its unencumbered ability to act.
Yeah, he says it's unclouded by remorse or morality, which I guess he envies.
Yeah, but I don't know that he is either. But he's encumbered by human programming, who he obviously considers human to be inferior.
He says its structure purity is only matched by its hostility, which I guess that's the great thing about the alien is like it just seems like a pure animal. Like there's no intention to it; it just does what it does without thinking.
Yeah, it's just a bug. It's an insect.
Then they unplug Ash. New plan: blow up the ship, take the chances on the shuttle. And then Parker roasts Ash on the way out just to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Which we never see Ian Holm, the Ash character, ever show up ever again in the franchise. So.
No, I think he was done with it. Did a great job, but yeah.
Because we have what's his name?
Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, Lance Henriksen likes to pop up a bunch in this franchise and later on.
Well, he was about ready to quit acting when he got that role.
Huh.
he was like, okay, this is going to be my last performance. I'm really going for it. Because he did like the perfect like humanoid android.
Yeah.
That's still like the standard. I mean, David was good, but because Michael Fassbender's cool, but yeah, it's still like Bishop's like the ultimate like good. I'm not completely evil. I'm kind of like a neutral character.
Yeah.
But I definitely like him on one side here. Yeah, he was the best at that.
So have that being the end of Act 2. So we have Act 3. So they need coolant for the air support system in the shuttle, which I guess I never picked up on this whatsoever.
They need filters, yeah, for the life support system.
Well, they say coolant.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, but I guess every time I thought they were like, they're picking up canisters. I guess I just assumed that was like air or something.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm mixing up this and Event Horizon. Yeah, no, they do need, they're looking for some kind of chemical.
Yeah.
in containers. Where in Event Horizon, they are actually looking for air scrubbers.
Okay.
These movies, a lot of cues from Event
Oh
Horizon take
yeah.
from this.
Yeah, I mean this is like what's the farthest reaching goal of like insect evolution, and then what's the nightmare of that, and then Event Horizon is like, what if hell came to space?
Yeah. What if we just blended the supernatural with science, which is like actually super scary, but usually becomes dumb.
Yeah. There should really I don't know. I guess it's stupid now, but like they probably should really continue the Event Horizon franchise.
I'd be willing to help if they wanted to.
Maybe merge it with Hellraiser. I don't know.
You could make it happen.
Yeah. Um. So Parker and Lambert go to get coolant while Ripley is setting up the shuttle. Uh, Ripley goes. Ripley like hears the cat, so she goes looking for Jonesy in the near area. Then we cut to Parker and Lambert are grabbing a bunch of coolant bottles, I guess. I don't know. It seems like some of them are empty and some of them aren't. It's like, man, you guys suck at like organizing. You got to get the hell out of here. We cut to Ripley. She gets the cat after some jump scares, and then she throws it in the carrying case. We cut to the alien like corners Lambert, and she just like freezes up. Parker wants to hit it with like a flamethrower, but Lambert's in the way, so he never uses a flamethrower. So the flamethrower never gets used on the alien.
Yeah,
It only gets used on Ash, which I guess that's I guess that's I guess that works out. Ash is the one that's hit with the flamethrower because he's Ash. The alien kind of like skull cracks Parker, so the secondary mouth goes through his head, so he's pretty much dead. We see some tentacle stuff implied to Lambert, but I guess this is a Ridley Scott thing where it's like the alien raped her to death, which I don't. That's meant to be put in your head, but I guess this is actually a cut. Actually, we see the tail and the feet. Those are actually Brett's feet. Those are from the Brett scene. They just cut it out and put it here to imply more.
Okay.
So that's the power of editing, folks.
No, wow. Okay.
Because you hear the screams over the radio of them screaming, and so hers do kind of seem like weirdly sexual. I guess I don't know. I guess she was
all
really,
the psychosexual stuff they actually admit to in this movie is probably intended to be that.
Well, apparently the what's her name, Victoria.
Yeah, I just said Veronica Cartwright.
Yeah, apparently she was very mad about that. She didn't want that. She didn't want that betrayed as that. But it's all up to you to decide that that's a habit.
Yeah.
Ripley finds them both dead, and so she goes and runs to set up the self-destruct, which is like elaborate and cool, which kind of reminds me of the self-destruct in Wrath of Khan. There's like these pillars of metal come out, and then you got to insert more pillars and then rotate things.
Yeah. Well, you want it to be complicated. You don't want it to be a button you uncompress. So, yeah. But see, actually, like the self-destruct in this is described as like, oh, yeah, if you activate this in this sequence, you cut the coolant off to a fusion reactor, that's like the technically self-destruct, which is I've heard people argue against this movie, like, well, they would never have that in like a civilian ship. And it's like, well, they might. There's actually as many reasons for it as against it. It's like,
it's not a civilian ship if a corporation owns it. A corpo military syndicate.
Yeah. Well, it's also like there's a few scenarios, like, because it's you don't find out, they don't talk about, again, this is outside the movie, but they don't food those ships up for the whole journey. They food those ships up for the amount of time it's going to take you to dock, head for deep space, get your thing, come back. So if you were in a situation where your life support systems or your freezing systems didn't work, where you're just going to starve to death.
Yeah.
So that might be a reason to self-destruct. You're just going into deep space and can't change course or whatever. That would be a reason to self-destruct. You're going into crowded shipping lanes and you could kill other people that are asleep.
Yeah.
That would be a reason to self-destruct.
Yeah,
there are reasons.
The hauler's going into a planet's atmosphere. Why don't you blow it up first?
Yeah. Kills a bunch of people, yeah.
Hey, do you find it weird that Ridley Scott directed it and the main character is Ripley? Do you ever confuse those in your head every once in a while?
No, not really.
Because all you have to do is do a 90-degree, do a 180 turn on that P, and it's Ridley.
Yeah.
um. There's let's see. Yeah, she sets off the self destruct. There's like steam that's like blowing off all over the place, which I guess this is like the coolant being shut off, and it's like I don't know, something, whatever. Um, Ripley spots an alien around a strobing light. I wonder if this gave people some some what do you call it, seizures?
Yeah, I don't know.
About to sneeze. Ripley spots the alien. The alien looks like she like runs off, and then she drops the carrying case of the cat. But the alien looks like really close at the cat. Or I guess look is being presumptive. It doesn't have eyes, so. But yeah, it doesn't seem interested in the cat. Yeah, I don't necessarily understand this because it seems like Ripley's trying to stop the self-destruct but misses the window to stop it, and then she's mad that it's going to blow up in 5 minutes anyway. Because it's like it's going to blow up in 2 minutes, and then like it hits 0, and then they're like, too late. And she's like, God damn you, mother. It's like, wait, wouldn't mother like not allow this to be self-destructed? I don't know. I don't know. Did I miss something there, Nathan?
No, I mean, well, she was, of course, she was trying to turn it off because she didn't think she could get around the alien.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, this basically, I mean, yeah, what this structurally does is this forces her to go back and face the alien.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I'm just not sure about like this. I thought the ship was going to blow up here, and then it doesn't. Then there's another countdown. So yeah, Ripley goes back to the shuttle, grabs Jonesy. Ripley gets in the shuttle and takes off away from the Stromo and its hull. There's several nuclear blasts or fusion blasts or whatever that go off here. It shakes the shuttle a lot, but it's mostly fine. Everything seems to be fine. And here she says, "I got you, you son of a bitch." She kind of whispers it, which of course that gets brought back into Aliens, which is like, "Get away from her, you bitch."
Yeah.
Yeah, because here she's playing. She knows it's the son of a bitch. Although Ash does refer to this alien as Cain's son, which I'm sure is several biblical references or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, is the alien Abel? But Cain kills Abel, right? Or I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay. Ripley gets Jonesy out of his carrying case and puts him in a sleep chamber. Everything seems fine. Ripley strips down to the world's smallest panties.
Yeah. Weird 70s panties.
It's like it's almost like a G-string, but the G-string doesn't go up the butt. The G-string is like on the hips. Like there's nothing on the side. There's there's stuff on the front and back, but like the smallest string on the sides, which I feel like I don't know. I don't know. This is like in almost 80s, every 80s Japanese anime. Like apparently the Japanese must have loved this. This also seems very exploitive. I don't know what's going on. I don't know whose fantasy this was.
Very weird. It's very weird, like impractical clothing.
Yeah.
But I think at this point in the movie, this is to show that, like, oh yeah, remember Ripley is a woman. Like this, she's a female character, and she is vulnerable. I think.
Yeah, I think it's just vulnerable.
It's intended to make her look vulnerable, but to us, it just looks like weird clothing. It's like, well, you'd wear like space breeches or something, or breeches. You wouldn't wear stuff like that.
But this also just seems like straight out of a softcore porn. It's like, oh, we just gotta get scantily clad. I mean, there's no nudity, just some butt crack.
Yeah. There's always some butt. You ever had your pipes fixed?
Yeah, I guess she's closer to a plumber than anything else.
Yeah.
She's flipping some switches, and then the alien is like resting among some pipes, so its head kind of fits in there. How it's like reflecting things. So if you're not looking too closely, you don't notice it's there, but it is like there the whole time.
Where's Waldo of Alien? Like, oh yeah, it's still there.
And it's just kind of like resting, I guess. I don't know, because its hand like reaches out and scares Ripley, but then it just seems to be sleeping. So I don't know if that was like an intended thing or if that's just like it's sleeping and that's just like a reflex or whatever. It's like it's weird because it's like here it's the only time we see the alien kind of like resting and having no intention or whatever. It's kind of lazy. It's like, well, what made it lazy? It gets Phil with Lambert and Parker, I guess.
Yeah, it's a post meal like meat sleep.
um, so she runs into like the spacesuit closet and keeps an eye on the alien, which it just kind of doesn't really do much. It just kind of slithers around. We really show off its secondary mouth and like it just like drooling all over the place. Again, it just seems to be not really doing that intentionally. It just kind of seems to be some sort of reflex or whatever. It's dreaming.
Yeah.
So she slowly puts on a spacesuit and then she grabs like a spear gun. No, don't know why they have that, but she heads out of the closet.
If you get thrown off the ship, you can fire a grapple
Eh,
gun and get pulled back to the ship.
I guess so.
Yeah.
She buckles herself into a seat and then she like hits the alien with some steam to scare it out. And then she turns away for some reason. But then she like looks in the corner of the helmet, and then she sees the alien just kind of standing there, like hey, what's going on? And of course, she freaks out by that, and then turns and hits like the airlock, and then that sucks the alien out of the airlock, but it's still able to like grab onto the doorway, and then she hits it with the spear gun. It knocks it out of the doorway, but then like she hits the door closed and then it catches the gun in the doorway, so the alien's still like tethered to the ship. Now the alien's just like dangling out the back of the spaceship. The alien like tries to crawl in through like the rocket engines,
Yeah.
and then she just blasts it with the engines out into space. Which I thought I remember like it disintegrating in the engines, but no, it just gets knocked out into space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe presumably still alive. I don't know. I'm used to things nowadays of especially with like, the Expanse, of people using the engines as a weapon of terrible destruction. But yeah, here the model is just a set of lights, so of course they're not going to disintegrate the alien. Although they do have kind of interesting like dripping effects as it's in the rocket engine. So they do some work to show it being like kind of torn up a bit. Then we cut to, it's like moments later, Ripley leaves a recording, hoping that with a bit of luck she'll be picked up by the network. I don't know what that means. And then we pan to the stars and credits.
Well,
and that's the end of Alien.
Yeah, that's the end.
And I hear
science fiction movies ever made.
And also hear the original ending was supposed to be Ripley gets her head cut off, and then the alien leaves this message at the end or something like that.
That'd be weird. It's like, oh, it can talk now.
But that's just classic Ridley Scott stuff, where it's like, oh, we had something even darker, but they weren't brave enough to use it. It's like, no, I think the studio's right in this sense. It's Ridley. So
like anyone would remember this movie fondly if that was the case.
It's already a bleak movie. Like, give people some hope, I guess. I don't know. I wonder if there's going to take a turn and like really bleak movies are going to start coming out because people are starting to get tired of the endless, meta universes where like every movie is just a lead off to another movie. And so now people are going to start making movies where it's like, no, we're going to definitively kill off all these characters to make sure there's not a franchise. But somehow I doubt that'll happen.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be.
Well, yeah, every once in a while these things take a turn. So, yeah, I remember there was a book I read about movies. I remember like for Fox, this was like kind of changed a bunch of things because it used to be they had a formula where if you made a sequel, you just like have the budget, and then so for this one, I think I'm not sure if I'm not sure if they gave it more budget for Aliens. I think Cameron was a clever filmmaker, maybe made a bigger movie for the same budget. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah. There was quite a gap in between, though. There was a 7-year gap.
7 years. But and also there's the funny trivia about how Cameron pitched Aliens, where he just wrote Alien on a chalkboard and then put a dollar sign at the end. So
Yeah.
it said aliens and money. Which seems like something a stupid executive would buy. Like,
Yeah, it's
brilliant.
like I know my idiot crowd here.
um, yeah, there was a video game called Alien Isolation, which had a pretty faithful reproduction of the Nostromo, which you could walk around in. Well, that's like DLC. It was also probably the best at capturing the kind of mood of this movie in that video game.
Yeah, it was a really good video game.
Way too long, but great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not kind of repetitive, but it was fun.
And then I do know one of the Fargo TV guys, I think, is Noah Haley. He's supposed to be working on the Alien TV show for FX.
Yeah.
Which should be awesome or terrible. You never know.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's been delayed a bunch. 1 was to COVID, 2 was to the strike. So it's in production now. So we'll probably see it next year, like
Right.
2025 next year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have hopes for that, Nathan?
I just won't know till I see it.
Okay.
Because there's a movie coming out too. It's called Alien Romulus.
Oh yeah, it's by the Evil Dead guy. That's not Sam Raimi.
Yeah. And it's like I hear it's like, oh, because I watch there's some alien trivia or alien like YouTube things and stuff. Fans I watch, but some of these guys are pretty realistic about it. And there's like, well, let's see, there's been zero promotion for it. It's a cast of unknowns, and the trailers they've released have reveal almost nothing about it, and it's due out like pretty soon.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's like, this isn't going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shove it under the carpet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the greatest horror movies of all time, and
Yeah.
capped off the 70s.
Oh yeah. In
Set the
style.
tone for the 80s.
Yeah, basically every movie tried to be this.
Yeah.
Well, every dark sci-fi movie.
Well, like I said, like almost every movie in the 80s was shot at night, just because it made your movie look bigger, because you didn't it's like Back to the Future is like the only bright movie in the 80s.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's like I said, it's easy, like
And
especially
even
like
then, the most memorable scenes in Back to the Future were shot during a thunderstorm. So even that managed to be dark sometimes.
yeah, because special effects just work better in dark like scenes because you can hide a lot more.
Yeah.
That's true today. It's always been true. So yeah, like everything took, in every movie there was like a dark nightclub with fog and laser. If it was a rom-com, if it was a sci-fi thriller, if it was a western, there was just lasers and smoke and darkness in every movie. Even Escape from New York had that weird wired grid thing, which was cleverly done without CGI.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That was good.
Yeah, it's cheaper to just put tape on a black model. It's like, that's genius.
Looks futuristic.
Any closing thoughts on Alien, Nathan? I know this is like one of your top movies.
Oh, I had a few things. I'm kind of out of time, so
Okay.
like there was something we could expand upon it later at some point.
All right. Well, we're sending a probe into space, to catch up with Nostromo. Containing the supercut of the imperfect collection that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what scene for this movie are we chucking into space?
Well, it's we have to do the chest burster scene with Kane because that basically explains the whole movie, and what you're in store for. Even though it's like the most horrific part of the movie, which might oversell it a little, but it's really essentially what the story's about. It's like random horrible things happening.
And you can find us at Letterboxd, username VHE. 1 out of 5 stars. What does this movie get?
5.
Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
You can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There they have listener support where you can support us at a monthly stipend either 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. You can rate our podcast whatever you want. Remember, the algorithm only listens to the highest rating. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. Especially you, Ash. Come on.
Yeah.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. And you can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this show and that show live and unedited. And we have no t-shirts for sale. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.